Before we get started, please like and subscribe. Let me know where you're watching from, and you can support the channel by clicking thanks or joining. My name is Daniel Carter, and Christmas morning was supposed to be loud. It was supposed to be filled with the sound of my wife moving around the kitchen, my daughters arguing over presents, and the distant hum of neighbors starting their day. Instead, I woke to silence so complete it felt deliberate, as if the world had chosen to hold its breath. I opened my eyes at exactly 7:12 in the morning. The red numbers of the digital clock glowed softly beside the bed. Normally by this time, Emma would already be awake, whispering to her sister about sneaking downstairs. Normally, Sarah would be pretending to sleep while listening for movement. That morning there was nothing. No footsteps, no voices, not even the familiar groan of the house settling against the coal. For a moment I convinced myself I had simply woken too early. Christmas Eve had been long and exhausting. Snow had fallen heavily through the night, muffling everything outside. Silence was normal, I told myself. Peaceful even, but the silence did not feel peaceful. I lay there listening hard enough that my ears began to ring. No heater cycling on, no pipes clicking, no wind against the windows. It was as if the house had been hollowed out while I slept. I called out, "Ra!" My voice sounded wrong in the stillness, thinner than it should have been. No answer. I swung my legs over the side of the bed. The floor was ice cold, far colder than it should have been with the heat running all night. I stood slowly, half expecting the world to snap back into place once I moved. It did not. The bedroom door creaked open louder than usual. The hallway beyond was dim, lit only by the soft, multicolored glow of Christmas lights we had strung along the banister. They were still on. We never left them on overnight. I stepped into the hallway and immediately felt watched. Family photos lined the walls, pictures from past Christmases, birthdays, beach trips. As I walked past, I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. Every frame was slightly crooked, tilted inward toward the center of the hall, as if adjusted by an unseen hand. "Sarah," called again, louder this time. Still nothing. I moved to the girls' room. Their door stood open, beds neatly made, stuffed animals arranged carefully along the pillows. No sign anyone had slept there. No rumpled sheets, no discarded pajamas. My pulse began to race. Checked the bathroom. Empty. Towels untouched, sink dry. Downstairs, the living room looked frozen in time. The Christmas tree glowed softly, ornaments reflecting the lights in distorted fragments. Wrapped gifts still waited beneath the branches untouched. The fireplace was cold, though ashes from the night before sat undisturbed. The smell of coffee hit me suddenly, rich and warm. I followed it into the kitchen. A mug sat on the counter, steam curling faintly from its surface. My breath caught. The coffee was fresh, still hot. Someone had been here moments ago. "Sarah," I shouted, panic creeping into my voice now. "Emma!" The table was set for breakfast. Plates, silverware, folded napkins, a bowl of oranges in the center. Everything was perfectly arranged. Too perfect. There were no chairs pulled out, no crumbs, no signs of movement. I picked up the mug. It was warm against my palm. My name was written on it in Sarah's handwriting. My phone was on the counter beside it. I did not remember putting it there. I checked the screen. No missed calls, no messages, no signal. I tried the landline. Dead. I moved from room to room, searching, calling, shouting until my throat burned. The house offered nothing back. No answers, no signs of struggle, no explanation. Finally, I looked outside. The street was blanketed in pristine snow. No tire tracks, no footprints, no signs of life. Houses stood dark. Christmas lights still glowing in windows, but no smoke rose from chimneys. No cars sat in driveways. It looked abandoned. I stepped onto the porch. The cold hit me like a wall. My breath fogged the air. I looked down and felt a surge of dread. There were footprints in the snow. One set. They led away from my front door and down the street, disappearing into the white distance. They were not mine. I stood there shaking, unable to move as the realization settled in like a weight on my chest. Everyone else was gone, and whatever had taken them had left me behind, alone, waiting. On Christmas morning, I did not leave the porch for a long time. The cold burned my lungs, but I barely felt it. I stood there staring at the single trail of footprints cutting through the fresh snow, as if the ground itself had chosen a direction and everyone else had followed. They were deep and evenly spaced, made by someone walking calmly, not running, not dragging anyone away. Whoever left those prints had not been afraid. Eventually, instinct took over. I went back inside and locked the door, even though I did not know who I was locking it against. The sound of the deadbolt sliding home echoed too loudly through the empty house. I needed answers. I needed proof that this was not some elaborate joke or stress-induced hallucination. I grabbed my coat boots and gloves and began searching the house again, more carefully this time. I checked closets, cabinets, the basement crawl space. Everything was exactly where it should be. Holiday decorations stored neatly, boxes labeled in Sarah's handwriting. Winter coats hanging untouched. Shoes lined up by the door, including the ones my daughters wore every day. No sign they had left on their own. In the garage, both cars were still there, dusted with a fine layer of frost, as if they had not moved in days. I opened the door and felt a wave of panic hit me so hard I had to lean against the wall to stay upright. If they had not driven away, then where were they? I tried my phone again. Still no signal, no emergency alerts, no voicemail backlog. It was as if the network itself had forgotten my number. The radio in the kitchen crackled faintly when I turned it on. At first, there was only static. Then after several seconds, a voice cut through. "Merry Christmas." The words were distorted, stretched thin, like they had traveled too far to reach me. "This is an emergency broadcast." I leaned closer, my heart pounding. "Please remain calm." The message repeated. No location, no explanation, just those same phrases looping endlessly until the radio fell silent again. I shut it off. I could not stay inside anymore. The walls felt like they were closing in, pressing the air out of the rooms. I needed to see beyond my street to know if this was happening everywhere or if I was standing at the center of something far worse. I stepped outside again and followed the footprints. They led past dark houses, their windows reflecting my movement like watching eyes. Christmas decorations blinked cheerfully on empty lawns, inflatable Santas frozen mid-wave, reindeer locked in place like statues. No doors opened, no curtains moved. The footprints never wavered. They did not approach any house. They did not hesitate at intersections. They moved with purpose straight toward the center of town. As I walked, the silence deepened. Even my own footsteps sounded muffled, swallowed by the snow. There were no birds, no dogs, no distant traffic. The world felt staged, like a set built for me alone. I reached the main road and stopped. Normally, even on Christmas morning, there would be signs of life delivery trucks, churchgoers, the occasional early shopper. The road was completely empty. Snow lay unbroken from curb to curb. I shouted, "Hello." The word vanished into the air without echo. I noticed something then that made my stomach twist. The streetlights were still on, every single one glowing steadily despite the rising sun. They cast long, unnatural shadows across the snow shadows that seemed to stretch just a little too far. I followed the footprints into town. The grocery store doors stood open. Inside shelves were stocked, lights were on registers, powered up. A shopping cart sat abandoned in the middle of an aisle. A box of cereal tipped over beside it, spilling colorful loops onto the floor. I called out again. My voice bounced off the walls and came back to me, sounding wrong, delayed, warped. In the town square, the clock tower chimed softly, marking the hour. 8 o'clock. The sound felt obscene, too normal for a place that should have been filled with people. I noticed then that every clock I could see read the same time. 8 o'clock. The watches in the jewelry store window, the digital sign outside the bank, all synchronized perfectly. Time was moving, but nothing else was. A sudden sound made me spin around. Footsteps. I froze. They were not mine. They came from behind me, slow and deliberate, crunching through the snow. Relief flooded me so fast it nearly brought me to my knees. "Hello," I shouted. "I am here." The footsteps stopped. I waited, heart hammering. Then a figure emerged from between two buildings. At first glance, it looked like a person bundled in winter clothes, head down, hands in pockets. As it stepped closer, something felt wrong. It was too still, too smooth. When it lifted its head, I saw that its face was blank. No features, no eyes, no mouth, just pale skin stretched tight where a face should have been. It tilted its head exactly the way my daughter did when she was confused. I stumbled backward, my breath coming in short, ragged bursts. The thing took one step toward me, then another. I ran. I did not look back. I did not stop until my lungs burned and my legs screamed for rest. I did not slow until I was back inside my house, slamming the door behind me and locking it, shaking so hard I could barely stand. From the living room window, I watched the street. Nothing moved. No footprints approached my house. No shadow crossed the snow. But I knew whatever had taken everyone else was not finished. It had seen me, and now it knew where I lived. I did not sleep. Night never truly came. But darkness settled anyway, heavy and unnatural, like a lid lowered over the world. The sun hung low behind a veil of gray clouds, refusing to rise or fall. Time moved forward, yet the day felt stuck, suspended between moments. I sat in the living room with the lights off, watching the street through a narrow gap in the curtains. Snow continued to fall straight down. No wind, no variation, each flake landing softly and erasing the past. The footprints I had followed earlier were gone, wiped clean as if they had never existed. But I remembered them. I replayed the image of the faceless figure over and over in my mind. The way it moved, the way it tilted its head like my daughter. That detail clawed at me more than the lack of features. It meant it had watched us, studied us, learned how to imitate something human without understanding it. I checked my phone again. Still no signal. The battery had barely drained, as if it were not being used at all. Even time inside the device felt wrong. At some point, hunger forced me into the kitchen. The food was still cold, as if the refrigerator had never shut off yet. The house itself felt freezing. I ate mechanically, barely tasting anything, my eyes never leaving the windows. That was when I noticed the sound. At first it was so faint I thought I imagined it. A soft rhythmic noise, barely louder than the hum of blood in my ears. I held my breath and listened. Footsteps inside the house. They came from above me. I stood so fast the chair tipped backward and hit the floor with a sharp crack. The sound echoed through the house and then stopped, abruptly swallowed by the stillness. The footsteps paused. I grabbed the fireplace poker, my hands slick with sweat, and moved toward the stairs. Each step creaked under my weight, sounding like a gunshot in the silence. The Christmas lights along the banister flickered once, then steadied. Halfway up, I froze. The girl's bedroom door was closed. I was certain it had been open before. I stared at it, my heart hammering so hard I felt dizzy. Slowly the door began to open, not from the inside, from the hallway. It opened just enough to reveal the dark interior. No movement, no sound. I forced myself forward and pushed the door the rest of the way open. The room was exactly the same as before. Beds made toys arranged perfectly, but something was different. There were footprints on the carpet, small ones, bare feet. They led from the door to the closet. My vision blurred as panic surged. Emma, Sarah, I whispered, my voice breaking. The closet door was slightly ajar. I pulled it open with a shaking hand. It was empty, but the air inside was warm. Too warm, like someone had been standing there moments ago. A whisper brushed against my ear. "Daddy!" I spun around, swinging the poker wildly. Nothing was there. The word lingered, echoing inside my skull, not spoken aloud, but remembered perfectly in my daughter's voice. I backed out of the room and slammed the door, shutting myself inside the hallway, gasping for air. The house felt tighter now, closer, as if it were shrinking around me. I retreated downstairs and barricaded myself in the living room, dragging furniture against the doors. The radio crackled to life on its own. "Merry Christmas, Daniel." I froze. The voice was calm, gentle, almost kind. "We have been waiting." Static surged. then faded. "You were not supposed to wake up." The radio went silent. My knees buckled, and I collapsed onto the couch, staring at the wall, unable to move. Wake up from what? I thought back to Christmas Eve. The laughter, the warmth, the exhaustion. Had something happened while we slept? Had we crossed into something else without knowing? A knock sounded at the front door. 3 slow, deliberate taps. I did not move. The knock came again, then a third time louder. Through the peephole, I saw a familiar shape. My wife. Sarah stood on the porch, wrapped in her winter coat, snow clinging to her hair. Her face looked normal, worried, relieved. "Daniel," she called, "open the door." Relief nearly broke me. I reached for the lock, then stopped. Her reflection in the glass was wrong. Her face in the reflection was smooth and blank. I stepped back, shaking. Her voice changed. "You should not have seen us." The porch light flickered. When it steadied, she was gone. The street was empty, but deep in the house, something moved, and it was coming closer. After the knock at the door, the house no longer felt empty. It felt occupied by something patient and curious. Every room seemed to listen as if the walls themselves were leaning inward, eager to hear my thoughts. I stayed on the couch for a long time, gripping the fireplace poker until my hands cramped. The clock on the wall ticked loudly each second, dragging itself forward. 9 o'clock. Time still moved, even if the world refused to. I forced myself to breathe slowly. Panic would get me killed if that was even possible here. I needed to think clearly to understand what was happening. I searched the house again, but this time with purpose. I checked windows, doors, vents, anything that could be opened or entered. Everything was locked tight. No signs of forced entry. No broken glass. The house was sealed, yet something was inside with me. In the master bedroom, I found something new. The bed was unmade, the blankets pulled back as if someone had slept there recently. I knew I had made the bed that morning. I remembered smoothing the sheets with shaking hands before leaving the room. Now they were wrinkled, warm. On the nightstand lay a piece of paper folded neatly in half. My name was written on it in Sarah's handwriting. "Daniel." I unfolded it slowly. "We are safe. Do not follow the voices. Do not trust the faces. Wake up!" My chest tightened. Wake up from what? The words felt heavy, dangerous, as if reading them aloud might trigger something. I folded the paper and put it in my pocket. Unsure why, but unwilling to leave it behind. A sudden wave of exhaustion hit me so hard my knees buckled. I sat on the edge of the bed, gasping. My vision blurred, and the room tilted. Sleep tugged at me. "No!" I slapped my face hard, forcing myself to stay alert. But the feeling did not fade. It deepened, wrapping around my thoughts, slowing them. I realized then that I had not truly slept since Christmas Eve. Not really. I remembered lying down, closing my eyes, but the memory ended there. Had I actually woken up? The hallway lights flickered. Shadows stretched and twisted across the walls, growing longer than they should have been. A sound drifted through the house. Laughter. Children laughing softly just out of reach. My daughters. I stood trembling, every instinct screaming to follow. I took one step toward the sound, then stopped. Do not follow the voices. I backed away. The laughter grew louder, moving from room to room, trying to lure me. It sounded perfect. Every giggle, every breath, exactly right. I retreated to the living room and shut my eyes, pressing my hands over my ears. When I opened them again, the house looked wrong. The walls bowed slightly inward. The ceiling felt lower. The windows stretched tall and narrow like watching eyes. I staggered to the mirror above the fireplace. My reflection was delayed. I moved my hand. The reflection followed a second later. Fear surged through me. I was slipping. The radio clicked on again. "You are very close, Daniel." The voice was different now. Deeper layered with many tones overlapping. "This place is only for those who sleep. You should have stayed asleep." Images flooded my mind, memories that were not mine. A vast, dark space filled with countless human shapes. Standing motionless, eyes closed, snow falling endlessly around them. Dreamers, they were feeding on dreams. On Christmas night, when everyone slept deeply together, warm and safe, they crossed over. I had woken too soon. The laughter returned now, angry, distorted. The sound of footsteps rushed through the house, circling me faster and faster. I ran to the front door and yanked it open. The world outside shimmered like heat haze. The street bent unnaturally, stretching into the distance. Figures stood along the sidewalks, frozen heads bowed, faceless, sleeping, waiting. I slammed the door shut. My vision darkened, and I collapsed to the floor. As consciousness slipped away, one final thought echoed in my mind. If sleep was the doorway, then waking up was the mistake. I woke on the living room floor with my cheek pressed against cold wood. For a few seconds, I did not remember collapsing. Then the memories rushed back all at once. The warped street, the sleeping figures, the word "wake up" echoing inside my skull. I pushed myself upright slowly, afraid that if I moved too fast, the world would tear again. The house was quiet, but it was a different kind of quiet. Now not empty, but restrained, like a held breath. The clock on the wall read 10:30. Time had jumped. I checked my body for signs of sleep. My clothes were stiff, my eyes burned, my head throbbed. If I had slept, it had not been rest. It felt stolen. The note from Sarah was still in my pocket. I unfolded it again, hoping the words might change. They did not. "We are safe. Do not follow the voices. Do not trust the faces. Wake up." Safe where? A realization crept into my thoughts, slow and unwelcome. If this place was only for those who slept, then maybe Sarah and the girls were not gone. Maybe they were somewhere else. I remembered the radio voice saying I was not supposed to wake up. That meant there were rules. And if there were rules, then maybe there was a way out. I went to the bathroom and stared at my reflection again. This time it moved with me, but my eyes looked wrong, too sharp, too alert, like an animal that had not slept in days. Veins stood out along my temples. I looked less human, somehow thinner around the edges. I needed to test something. Carefully, I lay down on the couch and closed my eyes. Nothing happened at first. I focused on my breathing, letting it slow, forcing my muscles to relax. Almost immediately, images began to bleed through my thoughts, not dreams, but fragments, like memories playing out of order. Snow falling upward, voices speaking backward, a church filled with sleeping people standing upright. My heart raced and I snapped my eyes open. The room shimmered. For a split second, I saw another version of the living room overlapping this one. It was brighter, warmer, filled with people asleep on the floor, on the couch, everywhere. Faces peaceful, eyes closed. Then it vanished. I gasped. 2 layers, 2 worlds. Sleep was the bridge, but it was dangerous. The radio clicked on softly. "You are learning." The voice sounded pleased. "You are closer than most." I stood and shouted into the empty room, "What do you want?" A pause. To keep the dream intact, this place feeds on certainty, on the comfort of sleep, on nights when no one wants to wake up. Christmas, understanding settled like ice in my chest. The warmth, the safety, the shared belief that everything would be fine. It had created an opening. They had taken advantage of it. The voice continued. "Those who wake too early threaten the balance. They must be corrected." The front door rattled violently. I jumped back as the handle twisted again and again. The sound of something heavy pressing against the wood filled the hallway. Then came the voices, my daughters crying, "Daddy, please, help us." I covered my ears, backing away. "Do not follow the voices." The note crinkled in my pocket, reminding me. The door went still. Silence returned thicker than before. I realized then that the entities needed permission of a kind. Fear, attention, sleep. I was feeding them just by reacting. I forced myself to calm down, to think. If sleep connected the worlds, then maybe controlled sleep could let me move without being trapped. I gathered blankets, pillows, and dragged them into the center of the living room, away from windows and doors. I turned off all the lights. I sat in the darkness and focused on staying aware. If I fell asleep completely, I might not come back. If I stayed awake completely, I was trapped. I balanced on the edge. As my eyes closed, the house faded. I stood somewhere else. The same living room, but whole, warm, sunlight streaming through windows. Sarah lay asleep on the couch. Emma and Lily curled on the floor nearby, wrapped in blankets. Tears filled my eyes. I reached for Sarah. My hand passed through her like smoke. I was a ghost here. Something moved in the corner. A tall, faceless figure watched me, its head tilted in curiosity. It knew I was not fully asleep. It raised a hand and the world shook. I forced myself awake, screaming. I was back on the floor, heart racing, soaked in sweat. I understood now. They were guarding the sleepers, and I was running out of time, because each time I crossed the line, I stayed a little longer, and waking up was getting harder. I found a notebook in the junk drawer, the kind we used for grocery lists and school reminders, and I sat at the kitchen table with a pen that barely worked. My hands still shook from the crossing. I wrote anyway because writing made things real, and I needed something real. Rule 1. Do not follow the voices. Rule 2. Do not trust the faces. Rule 3. Sleep is a bridge and a trap. Rule 4. Fear is food. Outside the kitchen window, the sky was the same dead gray. Snow drifted down without wind. The streetlights still burned, even though it was late morning, and the light they cast looked thin, like it was coming from far away. Then a sound cut through the stillness. A car engine. The noise was so normal that it hurt. I ran to the living room window and pulled the curtain back. A sedan crawled down the street at walking speed. Its headlights swept pale beams across the snow. The driver kept both hands tight on the wheel, shoulders hunched, like he expected the road to open and swallow him. I threw on my coat and boots and burst onto the porch, waving both arms. "Hey, over here!" The car braked hard and slid a little before stopping in front of my house. The driver door opened slowly. A man stepped out, mid-30s, heavy jacket, knit cap pulled low. His beard was patchy, like he had not shaved in days. He held a tire iron in one hand. "Do not come closer," he said. His voice sounded raw, like he had been shouting for hours. I stopped at the edge of my driveway and kept my hands up. "My name is Daniel Carter. I live here. Are you real?" He stared at me like he was checking for seams. "I think so," he said. "I do not know anymore. My name is Mark Harlan." Relief hit me so hard I almost laughed. Another awake person, another witness. Mark stayed in the street. His eyes kept flicking to the dark houses and the cheerful lights that kept blinking like nothing was wrong. "How long have you been up?" he asked. "Since 7:12, I said. I woke and everyone was gone." Mark swallowed. "Same." He rubbed his forehead with the back of his glove. "I woke alone downtown. My girlfriend was just gone. Phone on the counter, shoes by the door, like she evaporated." "Did you see them?" I asked. "The ones with no faces." His expression tightened. "Yeah," he said. "One stood in my kitchen wearing her sweater. It turned and there was nothing there, just smooth skin. I ran. I have been driving ever since, looking for someone who could talk back." The windless snow kept falling around us, quiet enough that I could hear my own heartbeat. I showed him the note from Sarah. I did not want to, but I needed him to understand why I was still breathing. It appeared in my bedroom. I said, "I think my family is not gone. I think they are asleep somewhere else." I crossed for a second. I saw them. Mark read it. His eyes paused on the last word. "Wake up," he said softly. "That sounds like a trap or a warning," I said. "The radio told me I was not supposed to wake up. It said this place is for sleepers." Mark looked at the streetlights, at the empty road, at the snow that erased everything behind it. "So we are in the wrong layer," he said. "The bad copy." I nodded. "The longer I stay awake, the harder it gets to wake up again," I said. "When I cross, I can see them, but I cannot touch them, and something watches me when I do it." Mark exhaled through his teeth. "I have been fighting sleep," he said. "Every time my eyes close, I hear her calling my name. It sounds perfect. It makes me want to run to her. Do not follow the voices," I said. He nodded once, like he was grateful to hear it spoken aloud. "We need a plan," he said. "A place to regroup." I told him about the town square, about the clocks that had all read the same hour, about the grocery store with lights on and food untouched. Mark said he had seen the same thing downtown. a bank sign stuck on a lobby television playing a holiday loop with no sound. He tapped the tire iron against his leg like a metronome. If the world is looping, he said, then the loop has edges. We find an edge, or we find whoever is running it. Before I could answer, he stiffened. His gaze snapped past me to the window behind my shoulder. Daniel, he said quietly, do not move. Cold flooded my spine. I turned my head just enough to see through the glass. A woman stood near my Christmas tree. She wore Sarah's robe. Her hair fell the same way it always did. She looked up and smiled, like she had been waiting for me to come home. My lungs locked. Mark whispered, do not look too long. The woman raised a hand and pressed her palm to the window. Frost bloomed outward in delicate patterns, crawling across the glass like fast-growing veins. I could not stop staring. The smile was perfect. Too perfect. Her lips moved. I could not hear her through the glass, but my mind filled in the sound anyway. Daddy, come inside. Mark grabbed my sleeve and yanked hard. Daniel, do not feed it. His grip snapped me loose. I forced my eyes away and stared at the snow until my vision cleared. The window made a sharp ping. A thin crack split the glass from top to bottom. I looked back for a fraction of a second and saw the mask slip. Smooth skin, no eyes, no mouth. Then the smile returned. Mark did not hesitate. He ran to his car and threw the passenger door open. Get in, he shouted. I sprinted. As I crossed the threshold, the air felt thick, like walking out of water. I dove into the seat and slammed the door. Mark hit the lock and threw the car into reverse. The tires spun, flinging snow. The car jerked backward down the driveway. Through the rear window, I saw my front door swing wider by itself. I saw the living room lights flicker like a heartbeat. The thing in Sarah's robe stood in the doorway, still smiling, still watching. The dashboard radio crackled, even though Mark never touched it. Merry Christmas, Daniel Carter, the voice said, close enough to feel like breath on my ear. Mark punched the radio off. The screen stayed lit. We know you can cross. The voice continued through dead speakers. We will help you sleep. Mark swore under his breath and drove faster. I stared ahead at the empty road, the untouched snow, the glowing streetlights that refused to die. In my pocket, the note from Sarah felt like a coal. Safe did not mean reachable. And now, the thing pretending to be my wife had seen me with another awake man. It knew I was learning the rules. In a world built for sleepers, we were not just mistakes, we were threats. Mark drove with both hands locked on the wheel, eyes fixed on the empty road ahead. The town slid past us in silence, storefronts lit and waiting. Like actors frozen mid-scene, Christmas banners hung from lampposts that hummed softly, their lights still glowing even as noon should have washed them away. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Being together did not make the world less frightening. It made it more fragile. Every mile we put between ourselves and my house felt like a thread pulled loose. I kept expecting the road to ripple, to fold back on itself, to return us to the same driveway no matter how far we went. The clock on the dashboard read 11:11. I watched it obsessively. When it changed to 11:12, I felt an almost ridiculous sense of relief. Time was still moving, slowly. unevenly, but it was moving. Mark broke the silence. "If they can imitate faces," he said, "then they are not just hunting sleepers, they are hunting attachment." I nodded. My throat felt tight. "They used my family," I said. "They used what would make me stop thinking." Mark glanced at me. "They used my girlfriend the same way." I almost opened the door for it. I was half asleep. If I had not dropped my phone, I think I would have gone to her. The thought made my stomach churn. How many people had done exactly that? How many had followed a familiar voice into something waiting patiently behind a borrowed face? We reached the edge of town where the buildings thinned and the road curved toward the old high school. Its parking lot was wide and mostly open, surrounded by chain-link fencing. Mark slowed the car. "This is as good a place as any," he said. "Clear sight lines, fewer buildings." He parked near the main entrance and killed the engine. The silence returned instantly, thick and pressing. The school looked unchanged from the last time I had been there years ago. Lights glowed inside. The flag out front hung limp, frozen in place. We got out slowly, scanning the lot, the rooftops, the dark windows of the surrounding houses. Nothing moved. Inside, the front doors unlocked easily. The hallway smelled faintly of cleaner and old paper. Lockers lined the walls, their metal doors reflecting our movement in warped strips. Every classroom door was closed. We moved carefully, checking corners, listening. In the main office, a television mounted high on the wall played a Christmas parade on mute. The image looped every few minutes. The same float, the same waving crowd, over and over. Mark unplugged it. We chose the gym. It was large, open, with only two main entrances and high windows that let in a gray light. We dragged out mats and set them near the center of the floor, far from the doors. Mark used the tire iron to wedge the exit bars shut. "If something comes in," he said, "we will see it." I nodded. We sat facing each other, backs straight, trying to ignore how tired we both were. "We need to set rules," Mark said, "for sleeping, for watching." I took out the notebook. "One person sleeps, one person stays awake," I said. "No voices, no faces. If the sleeper starts talking, wake them up immediately." Mark frowned. "What if waking is the problem?" The words hung between us. I thought of the radio voice. "You were not supposed to wake up. Then we control how we sleep," I said. "Short periods, anchors." I pulled Sarah's note from my pocket and placed it between us on the mat. "This is my anchor," I said. "If I start forgetting why I am here, you show me this." Mark hesitated, then pulled something from his jacket. A photograph, creased and worn. He set it down beside the note. "Emily," he said. "That is her name." We sat there, two men guarding pieces of paper like holy objects. Mark took first watch. I lay back on the mat, staring at the high ceiling. My body ached with exhaustion. Sleep pressed against me like a tide. "Stay shallow," I told myself. "Do not drift." When I closed my eyes, the world slid sideways. I stood in the same gym, but it was full. People lay on the floor, on the bleachers, along the walls, hundreds of them, sleeping peacefully, faces slack, breathing slow. I saw Sarah near the far wall, the girls curled against her sides. I moved toward them, heart hammering. A line of tall shapes stood along the walls between the sleepers, faceless, still, watching. One turned its head. It saw me. The gym darkened instantly, like a light switched off. I felt hands on my shoulders. "Daniel, wake up!" I gasped and sat upright. Mark loomed over me, eyes wide. "You were talking," he said, not words, just sounds. "How long?" I asked. "Less than a minute." Relief washed through me, followed by fear. "They are guarding them," I said. "All of them, everywhere." Mark nodded slowly. "Then we are in enemy territory." Something banged against the far door. Once, twice, the sound echoed through the gym. We froze. A voice called out from the hallway. "Hello, is anyone in there?" It was calm, friendly, adult, male, Mark whispered. "That is new," the voice continued. "We are here to help. You do not have to stay awake anymore." I felt the air grow heavy. The lights overhead flickered. "Do not answer," I whispered. Footsteps approached the door, slow, deliberate. A shadow passed beneath the door frame, then another, and another, more than one. The door handle rattled gently. "Let us in," the voice said. "You look tired." Mark tightened his grip on the tire iron. I clutched the notebook so hard my fingers hurt. Outside the door, something laughed softly. It sounded like relief. The banging stopped as suddenly as it had begun. Silence flooded back into the gym, deeper than before. I realized my ears were ringing. My body braced for impact that never came. Mark and I stayed frozen, listening for any sign of movement on the other side of the doors. Minutes passed. The lights steadied. The heavy feeling in the air receded slightly, like something disappointed but not finished. "They are testing us," Mark whispered, "seeing what works." I nodded. My mouth was dry. The voice had sounded human. Too human, not borrowed from memory but crafted. Calm, reasonable. It felt more dangerous than the screaming or the crying. It felt dangerous. I checked the notebook and added another line with shaking hands. "Rule 5: if they sound reasonable, it is already too late." Mark let out a quiet breath that might have been a laugh if fear had not hollowed it out. We took turns after that. Short watches, short sleeps, never long enough to sink fully under. Each time I closed my eyes, I saw flashes of the other place. Rows of sleepers, endless buildings full of people dreaming their lives away, while something else stood guard. Once, during Mark's watch, I woke to the sound of him whispering Emily's name. I shook him hard until his eyes snapped open in panic. He stared at me like he did not recognize me for a long second, then nodded and thanked me. We were learning, because just before what should have been evening, the voice returned. This time, it came from everywhere, over the speakers mounted high on the walls. "Daniel Carter, Mark Harlan, we know your names." The gym lights dimmed. The voice softened. "You cannot keep this up forever." And deep down, I knew it was telling the truth. The voice faded from the speakers, leaving behind a silence that felt heavier than the threats themselves. Mark and I sat on opposite mats in the center of the gym, backs straight, eyes open, afraid that the moment we relaxed, the building would exhale and swallow us whole. The lights stayed dim, not off, not fully on, trapped in between. "They know our names now," Mark said quietly. That changes things. I nodded. Knowing our names meant they were no longer just reacting. They were paying attention, studying patterns, waiting for mistakes. I checked the notebook again, as if the words might rearrange themselves into something more helpful. Rule 5 stared back at me. If they sound reasonable, it is already too late. We need to move, I said. Staying in one place makes us predictable. Mark hesitated. And go where? Every building is the same. Lit, empty, watched. He was right, but staying meant letting them surround us on their terms. The decision was made for us when the far gym door creaked, just a fraction, barely enough to notice. Then another door answered it on the opposite side of the room. Metal groaned softly. Exit bars flexed. They were not forcing their way in. They were testing. Mark was on his feet instantly. Tire iron raised. I grabbed the notebook and stuffed it into my jacket. Back hallway, I whispered. Locker rooms. We moved together, fast but careful, shoes whispering against the gym floor. The sound of the doors behind us multiplied. Soft taps, curious nudges, like fingers drumming on wood. The locker room lights flickered as we burst inside. Rows of metal lockers stretched out in rigid lines, their dull surfaces reflecting us back in fragments. We shoved a bench against the main door and pressed our weight into it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then came the smell, cold air mixed with something sweet and wrong, like pine needles left too long in water. A voice drifted through the vents. Daniel. I squeezed my eyes shut. Not real. Mark whispered my name sharply, grounding me. Another voice joined it. Mark. Then another. Emily. Sarah. Emma. Lily. They spoke all at once, overlapping, gentle, pleading. Please, we are scared. Just open the door. Mark slammed his shoulder against the lockers and shouted back, Shut up. The voices fell silent instantly. The silence that followed was worse. The lockers began to rattle. Not violently, rhythmically, one after another down the row like something walking past them, brushing each door with a hand. Closer, closer. I felt pressure behind my eyes, the familiar pull of sleep tugging at me like gravity. Mark swayed. I grabbed his arm. Stay with me. He nodded, jaw clenched so tight I thought his teeth might crack. The rattling stopped right outside the door. A new sound replaced it. Breathing, slow, even, patient. The door bowed inward slightly, then relaxed. We are not here to hurt you, the voice said from the other side. Calm, reasonable. You are tired. I felt my thoughts slipping, the words pressing against old instincts. Let someone else take over. Rest. The notebook burned against my chest. Fear is food. I forced my eyes open wider. What happens if we stay awake? I shouted. Tell us that. Silence. Then a sigh. You starve us. The words sent a chill through me. Mark looked at me, understanding dawning in his eyes. That is it, he whispered. That is why they want us asleep. A sudden crash cut him off. The bench slammed forward. The door burst inward. Hinges shrieking. Mark swung the tire iron, striking empty air as the room filled with movement. Tall shapes poured through the doorway, their forms flickering like reflections on water. Faces tried to form and failed, skin smoothed over again and again. I ran, not away from Mark, toward him. We collided and nearly fell, scrambling toward the far exit as the room darkened behind us. The showers, steam burst around us as we tore through the tiled room, the water turning ice cold the instant it touched my skin. Shapes moved behind the translucent curtains. Hands slapped wet tile. Mark slipped, went down hard. I grabbed his jacket and hauled him up, my muscles screaming, "Do not look at them," I shouted. The exit door was already open, swinging slowly. Beyond it lay a hallway that stretched too long, lights buzzing overhead. We ran. Behind us came laughter, not mocking, hungry. We burst through a fire exit and stumbled out into the cold, lungs burning, clothes soaked and freezing. The parking lot had changed. Cars stood scattered across it now, dozens of them, doors open, engines cold, as if people had arrived and vanished all at once. In the center of the lot stood a school bus. Its door was open. The engine idled softly. Mark stopped short. "This is wrong," he said. I agreed, but it was also something we had not seen before. Movement, possibility. The bus interior lights flickered invitingly. A voice came from inside. "Kids first." I felt my knees weaken. Mark grabbed my collar and shook me. "Daniel, look at me." I met his eyes, forced myself to breathe. Rule 1. Do not follow the voices. We backed away together. The bus door slammed shut on its own. The engine revved. The bus rolled forward a few feet, then stopped. From every car in the lot, doors began to open. Figures stepped out, sleeping, standing, watching. We were surrounded, and for the first time since waking, I realized something worse than being hunted. They were herding us. The cold bit into my wet clothes immediately, turning every breath into pain. Steam rose off our bodies as if we were burning from the inside out. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, loud enough to drown out everything else. Mark and I moved slowly, backing away from the bus, careful not to make sudden motions. The figures stepping from the cars did not rush us. They moved with the same calm purpose I had seen in the footprints that first morning. One of the figures tilted its head. Another copied the motion, then another, like a ripple passing through water. Mark stumbled. I caught him before he fell. "Stay awake," I said through clenched teeth. "Stay angry." He laughed weakly. "That I can do." "No," he said hoarsely. The thing smiled with borrowed lips. "Come on," it said in his voice. "You are exhausted." I pulled him with me toward the fence. Chain link rattled as we hit it. Beyond lay the football field, open and exposed. No cover, no shelter, but space. We climbed, hands slipping on frozen metal, fingers burned as they touched the wire. I dropped to the other side and turned back just in time to grab Mark as he lost his grip. We hit the ground hard, rolling, gasping. This time I could not catch him. He went down hard and did not get up. I skidded to a stop and ran back, heart hammering. Mark lay on his side, eyes open but unfocused. "Daniel," he whispered, "I am so tired." I shook him. "No, you stay with me." His eyelids fluttered. I hear her. "Emily." The field around us seemed to dim, the darkness thickening like fog. I saw shapes moving at the edge of my vision, circling. If he fell asleep here, I knew what would happen. I grabbed his face and forced his eyes open. "Look at me." For a second, he focused. Do not let them take you, he said. Then his body went limp. The shape stepped closer, and I was alone again. Mark lay motionless in the snow, his breath shallow and uneven. His eyes fluttered beneath half-closed lids, tracking something I could not see. I knelt beside him, hands shaking, the cold biting through my soaked clothes like teeth. Mark, stay with me. His lips moved. She is right here, he whispered. She says it hurts to sleep alone. My chest tightened. Around us, the darkness pressed closer, not solid but watchful, like an audience waiting for the end of a play. I shook him harder. Do not listen. Look at me. For a second, his eyes focused. Fear flickered there, sharp and bright. Daniel, he said, they are not chasing us anymore. That was when I understood. The shapes had stopped moving. I looked up. They stood at the edges of the football field, tall and still, a wide circle of silhouettes against the snow. They were not rushing because they did not need to. They were waiting for Mark, for me to make a choice. If he fell asleep completely, they would take him somewhere I could not follow. If I stayed and tried to wake him, I risked sinking myself. I could already feel the pull behind my eyes, the world softening at the edges. I thought of the rules. Fear is food. Sleep is a bridge and a trap. I forced my breathing slow, even as panic clawed at my ribs. Mark, I said quietly, you told me not to let them take you. He smiled faintly. I know, but I am so tired. The word tired felt heavier than fear. I grabbed the notebook from my jacket and flipped through the pages with numb fingers. The rules stared back at me, useless ink on paper in a moment that demanded blood. Then I saw it, the anchor. I pulled Emily's photograph from his pocket. He had given it to me without thinking, a mirror of my own trust. I held it in front of his face. Look, I said, remember why you are awake. His eyes flicked to the picture. For a heartbeat, his breathing steadied. Emily, she is asleep, I said. She is not here. This is not her. A sound rippled through the darkness, low and displeased. The shapes leaned forward slightly. I felt pressure build in my skull. A warning. You cannot save everyone. A voice murmured, not from any direction, but from everywhere. I pressed the photo into Mark's hand and closed his fingers around it. If I leave you, I said, will you fight? He nodded weakly. I will try. It was not enough. I stood. The moment I rose to my feet, the pull intensified. The field tilted. Snowflakes hung in the air like stars. The shapes reacted instantly. They turned toward me. Not Mark. Me. I understood then. I was the greater threat. I could cross. I backed away slowly, never turning my back on Mark. Do not fall asleep, I said. Count something, anything. He did not answer. I turned and ran. The darkness surged after me. Not fast, not slow, inevitable. As I ran, the world began to split. The field overlapped with something else. Warmth, light. I stumbled and found myself standing in the same place. But the snow was gone. I stood in a crowded field under a bright winter sun. Families sat on blankets. Children laughed. Christmas music played from unseen speakers. Mark lay asleep at my feet. Peaceful. I dropped to my knees. No, this was the other side. A hand touched my shoulder. I looked up into a familiar face. My father. He had been dead for 10 years. "Daniel," he said gently, "you look exhausted." I pulled away. "You are not real." He smiled sadly. "None of this is real, but it is comfortable." Behind him, I saw Sarah and the girls walking toward me. Their faces were warm, alive. "Daddy!" The sound broke me. I reached for them. My hands passed through air. The field darkened instantly. The warmth vanished. The shapes were closer now, surrounding me. "You do not belong here awake," the voice said. "Then show me where I belong." I shouted. Laughter rolled through the darkness. "You already know." I felt myself falling backward, not down, but inward. I slammed awake, gasping. I was back on the snowy field. Mark was gone. No footprints, no sign of struggle, just his tire iron lying where he had fallen. The shapes were gone too. The field was empty. I stood alone, shaking, the weight of my choice crushing my chest. I had saved myself, and in doing so, I had let them take him. The notebook slipped from my numb fingers and fell into the snow, open to the last rule. Fear is food, sleep is the doorway, and someone else had just been fed. I stayed there for a long time, staring at the place where Mark had been. The snow kept falling, soft and indifferent, covering the outline my knees had pressed into the ground. It felt wrong that the world could still do something so gentle. I picked up the tire iron. It was warm in my hand, as if it had been holding on to his heat. I slid it through my belt without thinking. Carrying it felt like carrying a promise I had failed to keep. The silence did not last. A low hum crept into the air, barely audible at first. The stadium lights along the field flickered on one by one, bathing the snow in harsh white light. I shielded my eyes and looked toward the bleachers. They were full. People sat shoulder to shoulder, heads bowed, eyes closed. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Every face slack with sleep, every single one breathing. I staggered backward. The shapes stood among them now, blending in, less obvious. Some had faces, some did not. Some wore the expressions of loved ones borrowed carefully, respectfully, like costumes taken from a closet. I understood then that Mark had not been taken away. He had been added. The hum deepened into a vibration that I felt in my bones. A voice rose from the crowd, layered and vast. "This is mercy. They sleep, they dream, they do not feel the hunger." I laughed, the sound breaking out of me sharp and ugly. "You are farming them." A pause. "We are preserving them." The lights flared brighter. I felt my vision blur, the pull of sleep roaring back with renewed force. Being near so many sleepers was like standing in a gravity well. I stumbled away from the field, dragging myself toward the fence. Every step felt heavier than the last. I did not look back again. By the time I reached the street beyond the school, the lights behind me had gone dark. The field was empty once more. No bleachers, no crowd, just snow. The town welcomed me back with the same quiet cheer. Lights on, doors unlocked, decorations glowing faithfully. I walked without direction, exhausted beyond reason, replaying Mark's last words over and over. "Do not let them take you." I had listened. That was the problem. As I passed the grocery store, I saw movement inside. A figure stood near the front window, watching me. It lifted a hand and waved, not friendly, not hostile, acknowledging. I kept walking. Every instinct screamed to sleep, to lie down in the snow and let it end. But I knew now what that meant. Sleep was not rest, it was surrender. And somewhere, Mark was dreaming. Because of me, I walked until my legs shook and my thoughts blurred. The town did not end. Every street curved back into another familiar block. Every intersection offered the same silent choices. Christmas lights still glowed faithfully, as if obedience alone could keep the world intact. Mark's absence followed me like a shadow. Every few steps I expected to hear his breath beside me, his boots crunching in the snow. Instead, there was only my own heartbeat and the faint hum that seemed to come from the air itself. By early afternoon, the sky darkened again, slipping backward toward dusk without warning. Time no longer pretended to be honest. I stopped in front of the public library. The building stood solid and ordinary, its brick facade unwarped, its windows clear. Unlike the stores and houses, the lights inside were off. That alone made it feel different, real. I went in. The doors unlocked easily. The air inside was cold but clean, free of the sweet wrong scent that clung to other places. Rows of shelves stretched into shadow. No televisions, no radios. Silence without pressure. I moved deeper, careful, listening. Nothing followed. In the reference section, I found a desk lamp and turned it on. The light was steady. It did not flicker. Relief made my knees weak. If there was a place to think, this was it. I spread the notebook open and forced myself to remember everything Mark and I had learned. The rules, the patterns, the way the voices changed when confronted, the way the shapes reacted when ignored. They feed on fear. They need sleep. They guard the sleepers. They react to awareness. Awareness. I stared at the word until it felt sharp. When I crossed without fully sleeping, I could see them. When I understood what they were doing, they grew angry. When I refused to listen, they hesitated. They were not gods. They were systems, and systems had limits. A memory surfaced from years ago. Something a professor had once said during a lecture on human behavior. Consciousness resists control when it is shared. I laughed softly. That was it. Everyone else was asleep, dreaming alone. I was awake, but I did not have to be alone. The library computers lined one wall, dark screens gathering dust. I powered one on. It booted slowly, complaining, but it worked. No internet. I expected that, but local files opened easily. Archived town records, school announcements, public access footage stored for years. I checked the microphone. It worked too. My hands trembled as I adjusted the settings. If sound could cross layers, if voices could reach sleepers, then maybe intention could as well. Not whispers, not imitation, truth. I took a breath and pressed record. My name is Daniel Carter. I said clearly, if you can hear this, you are asleep. This is Christmas Day. You are not alone. The air vibrated faintly. I continued. Something has taken advantage of our sleep. It wants you calm. It wants you dreaming. It does not want you aware. As I spoke, the lights overhead dimmed. sound. Good. They were listening. If you are dreaming of family, of safety, of warmth, I said, then you are exactly where it wants you. But you can resist. You can wake partway. You do not have to open your eyes. You only have to know. The vibration deepened. Shelves rattled softly. I pressed on, voice steady. Remember something real, something sharp. Fear will feed it, but awareness will starve it. A sound rose around me, not a voice, but a pressure. Stop! I smiled. I hit upload. The file saved to every local terminal, every speaker connected to the system. Then the building shook. Books tumbled from shelves. The lamp flickered violently. The shapes poured into the library. No longer careful, no longer patient. They surged from doorways and shadows, faces forming and collapsing in fury. You should not teach them. The voice roared. I backed away slowly, heart hammering. You taught me, I said. The floor buckled. The air thickened. I felt sleep slam into me like a wave, powerful and seductive. Warmth spread through my limbs. My thoughts slowed. I dropped to my knees. Through the haze, I saw something impossible. Lights flared across town, one by one. Houses, streets, buildings, not decorative lights. Movement, shadows behind curtains. A scream echoed in the distance. Then another. The shapes hesitated. Their attention split. I forced myself upright. It is working, I whispered. Rage rippled through the room. You cannot wake them all. I did not need to, just enough. I ran. I burst through the emergency exit as the library collapsed inward behind me. Cold air hit my face like a slap, clearing my head. The town was changing. Doors opened. People stood in doorways, blinking, confused, terrified. The shapes moved among them desperately, trying to herd them back into sleep. For the first time, the hunters looked afraid. I disappeared into the streets, heart pounding, carrying the weight of a terrible hope. The war had begun, and Christmas was not over yet. I did not stop running until my lungs burned and my vision swam. I ducked into an alley and pressed my back against cold brick, listening to the town unravel. Voices shouted now, real ones, confused, angry, awake. The hum that had followed me since morning fractured into uneven pulses. Sirens wailed somewhere, distorted but unmistakably human. I slid down the wall and laughed until it hurt. Mark would have loved this. The laughter died quickly because awareness came with terror. People were seeing the world as it truly was. Streets bending slightly, shadows that did not line up with bodies, faces that slipped when stared at too long. The shapes fought back. I saw one seize a man by the shoulders, pressing its smooth face inches from his. The man screamed and collapsed, eyes rolling back as sleep reclaimed him. The balance was fragile. I forced myself up and moved again, slipping through back streets, avoiding the largest crowds. The notebook felt heavier now, the rules no longer abstract. Rule 6. Awakening is contagious. Rule 7, they will try to isolate the awake. The sky flickered between afternoon and night like a broken screen. Snow fell, stopped, fell again. Near the town square, I saw the clock tower shake. The hands spun wildly, then froze. Time was breaking. A hand grabbed my arm. I spun, heart in my throat. A woman stood there, eyes wide, face streaked with tears. "My son," she said. He will not wake up. I looked past her. A boy lay on the ground, breathing slow, peaceful, already slipping away. The shapes hovered nearby, pretending concern. I knelt beside him. Do not shake him, I said softly. Talk to him. Tell him something he does not expect. She stared at me, desperate. Tell him the truth, I said, something sharp. She swallowed and leaned close to her son's ear. Your father is dead, she whispered. He never came back. The boy's eyes snapped open with a scream. The shape recoiled as if burned. It works, I breathed. The woman clutched her son and sobbed. I stood, shaking. This was the cost. Truth hurt. Truth woke. As night fell fully for the first time, I understood what I had done. I had not saved the town. I had turned it into a battlefield, and somewhere in the noise and chaos, the things that fed on sleep were adapting, watching, learning. Just like me, the town did not wake up gently. It woke screaming. I moved through side streets and alleys while the main roads filled with noise. Doors slammed. People shouted names. Car alarms wailed until their batteries died. The quiet obedience that had blanketed everything since morning was gone, replaced by raw human panic. The shapes adapted quickly. They stopped pretending. Where before they had whispered and borrowed faces, now they moved openly. Tall figures strode through the streets, their outlines no longer trying to pass as human. Some still wore stolen features like masks pulled too tight. Others abandoned the effort entirely, smooth heads gleaming under streetlights. Awareness had changed the rules. It had made them angry. I ducked into a hardware store as a group of people ran past outside, chased by something that moved without touching the ground. The door slammed behind me, and I slid the lock into place, chest heaving. Inside, a handful of others crouched between shelves. A man clutching a hammer, a teenage girl with blood on her sleeve, an older woman rocking back and forth, whispering prayers. They looked at me like I had answers. I did not, but I had responsibility. They are drawn to sleep. I said quickly, if you feel tired, fight it. If someone starts drifting, talk to them. Say something unexpected. The girl stared at me. Like what? The truth, I said, or something that hurts. The woman let out a broken sob. The store shook as something heavy struck the exterior wall. Once, twice, the lights flickered. They are learning faster, the man said. His voice trembled. Yes, I said, and so are we. The impact stopped. Silence pressed in. Then a new sound filled the air. Music, a Christmas carol, drifted through the store speakers, tinny and distorted. Silent night. No one touched the controls. The song wrapped around us, slow and gentle, threading through fear like a needle. I felt my thoughts soften. No, I whispered. The others swayed. The girl slumped against a shelf. I grabbed a wrench and smashed the speaker. Sparks flew. The song cut off mid-note. The woman screamed as if waking from a nightmare. The lesson was clear. They could use beauty too. I led them out the back and sent them running toward the library ruins, hoping the chaos there might still confuse whatever was hunting us. Then I moved again. I did not stay long anywhere. Every place that gathered people became a target. Every cluster of awareness drew attention. confusion like blood in water. By nightfall, the town was broken into pockets. Some streets burned with activity, others lay dark and silent, reclaimed by sleep. The sky above flickered with unnatural light, as if the barrier between layers was thinning. Snow fell upward for a moment, then corrected itself. I felt the pull constantly now. Sleep clawed at me from inside, not gentle, not tempting, but forceful, like something trying to drag me under by my ankles. They were done waiting. Near the church, I saw a crowd gathered on the steps. A man stood at the front, shouting, "Stay awake, stay angry." I recognized him. The pastor. Blood streaked his forehead. His eyes were wild. "They took my congregation," he yelled, "but they will not take me." A shape rose behind him, towering, its outline flickering with dozens of half-formed faces. The crowd screamed. The pastor turned too late. The shape wrapped around him, not violent, almost tender, and lowered him gently to the ground. His voice faded into a hum. The crowd scattered. The shape lifted its head and looked directly at me, not with eyes, with attention. "Daniel Carter." The name hit like a blow. "You are loud," the voice said inside my skull. "Good," I thought. "You are destabilizing the system." I backed away slowly. "What do you want?" The voice shifted. "Balance. Sleep is not death. Daniel, it is mercy. You take people and keep them dreaming," I said. "You farm them." A pause. "We preserve them from the pain of waking." I laughed bitterly. "You mean from choice?" The ground trembled. Choice creates fracture. The truth settled heavy in my chest. They were not demons. They were custodians, jailers who believed they were caretakers, and they would not stop. The shape advanced. I turned and ran. I ducked into the church, slammed the doors, and bolted them. Candles flickered along the walls, their flames bending unnaturally. In the center aisle lay bodies, sleeping, dozens of them. The shape pressed against the doors, wood groaning. The sleepers began to stir, not waking, synchronizing. Their breathing fell into rhythm. I felt my knees weaken. They were using the sleepers as anchors. I stumbled toward the altar and grabbed the microphone. "If anyone can hear me," I said into the echoing space, "stay awake. Do not let them put you back." The sleepers did not respond. The doors burst inward. The shape flowed inside, filling the aisle. "You cannot save them all," it said calmly. I knew that, but I could change the cost. I smashed the microphone against the stone altar. Feedback shrieked through the church, sharp and painful. The sleepers convulsed. The shape recoiled, its outline rippling. Pain. Truth hurts. The building shook violently. Stained glass shattered, raining color across the floor. The shape screamed, a sound like tearing fabric. I ran again, lungs burning, ears ringing, carrying one certainty with me into the night. They could be hurt, and they would make me pay for it. The scream followed me long after I left the church. It echoed through streets and alleys, bending around corners, sinking into brick and snow. I did not know if it was the sound of the shape in pain, or the sound of the town itself breaking apart. I slowed only when my legs threatened to give out. I collapsed against the side of an abandoned diner, gasping, the smell of old grease and cold metal grounding me just enough to stay conscious. Everywhere, the rules were changing. People were not just waking anymore. Some were resisting even while asleep. I saw it in the way bodies jerked and whispered warnings, in the way eyes snapped open for a second before closing again. Fighting! The shapes responded by becoming more focused. They stopped chasing crowds. They hunted individuals. I felt it when the street behind me emptied too quickly, when the noise dropped away like a curtain pulled tight. I was being isolated. I turned slowly. The street was empty. Snow drifted lazily. Lights hummed. No footsteps. Then the air thickened. The shape emerged from the darkness ahead of me, larger than before, its surface rippling with fragments of stolen faces. Not one identity now, but many, layered and breaking. "You misunderstand us," it said calmly, still inside my head. I wiped blood from my nose, then explained. It took a step closer. The world bent around it. Sleep is consent. Daniel, you gave it every night. They all did. That was the lie. Consent requires choice. I said, you took the choice away. The shape paused. That is why you are dangerous. I felt my vision blur as sleep slammed into me harder than ever before. My thoughts slowed. My body sagged. You cannot stay awake forever, it said gently. You will break. I smiled weakly. Then I will break you first. I raised the notebook and tore it in half. The sound was small, but the meaning was not. The shape recoiled, as if struck. Rules only matter if you believe them. The pull loosened slightly. I ran. Behind me, the shape screamed again, not in pain this time, in rage. By the time true night settled over the town, I understood that the rules were no longer universal. They were personal. The things that fed on sleep were adapting to each mind individually, shaping their approach around memory and guilt. What terrified one person barely touched another. What woke one mind shattered a different one entirely. Awakening had fractured us. I moved through the streets cautiously, avoiding clusters of people. Groups drew attention. Arguments drew worse. Fear rippled through crowds like electricity, and where fear gathered, the shapes followed. I learned that quickly. Near the old movie theater, I heard shouting. Two men stood nose to nose under the glowing marquee, accusing each other. You did this. One yelled. You woke them up. The other laughed hysterically, better awake than livestock. The shape behind them struck without warning, not violent, efficient. It pressed close, whispering something only they could hear. Both men slumped at once, their anger dissolving into sleep before they hit the ground. I did not intervene. I could not. The cost of awareness was isolation. I ducked into an apartment building whose lights were dark. The stairwell smelled of dust and old carpet. Halfway up, I heard a door open above me. A woman stepped into the hall holding a kitchen knife. Her hands shook. Do not come closer, she said. I stopped. I am awake, I said. Like you. She studied my face, searching for cracks. My husband is asleep, she said. He will not wake up. Behind her, I saw him on the couch through the open door, eyes closed, breathing slow and deep. A shape knelt beside him, its outline faint, almost gentle. It looked at me, not with hostility, with curiosity. He is peaceful, the woman whispered. He is not afraid anymore. I felt the pull surge, amplified by proximity. They were using sleepers as anchors again. If he sleeps, she stays calm. If she stays calm, she feeds them. I chose my words carefully. He is not choosing this, I said, and neither are you. Her grip tightened on the knife. I am protecting him, I nodded. So are they. The shape leaned closer to her husband, its presence deepening his sleep. The woman trembled. Tell me the truth, she said. Hurt me. I swallowed. He is dying, I said slowly, and when you fall asleep beside him, you will die too. The shape recoiled violently, as if burned. The man on the couch gasped, eyes snapping open. Screaming, the woman collapsed. Sobbing, I fled before the shape recovered. Truth was a weapon, but it destroyed whoever held it. I stumbled into a convenience store to catch my breath. The windows were blacked out with cardboard. A few people huddled inside, whispering. One of them recognized me. You are the one from the library, a young man said. The one who spoke. I felt a surge of unease. They are watching anyone who listens, I said. He nodded. They killed my brother when he tried to wake our mother. I closed my eyes. I am sorry. The group looked at me with a mixture of hope and resentment. What do we do now? Someone asked. I did not answer immediately. Because the truth was cruel. You cannot save everyone, I said finally. You save who you can, and you stay awake long enough to matter. A woman laughed bitterly. And then what? We just die tired. I met her gaze. Maybe, but they die hungry. A crash sounded outside. Glass shattered. The group scattered. I slipped out the back into the snow, heart pounding. The shapes were everywhere now, less subtle, more desperate. Their movements were faster, more erratic. Awareness was spreading, but so was exhaustion. They were racing us near the river bridge. I saw the impossible. A cluster of shapes knelt in the snow around a single sleeper. Their outlines merged, forming something larger, denser. They were pooling. I realized with horror that they were consolidating their strength. If enough sleepers were gathered, they could create something powerful enough to force sleep on a massive scale. A reset. I backed away slowly. The bridge lights flickered. A voice rose from the mass. Daniel Carter. I ran. The night tore itself open around me. Streets twisted. Buildings leaned. The town was coming apart under the strain of too many minds waking at once. I ducked into the elementary school playground. Empty swings creaking in the windless air. I hid beneath the slide, gasping for the first time. Doubt crushed me. Maybe they were right. Maybe sleep was mercy. I thought of Sarah, of the girls, of Mark. I clenched my fists. Mercy without choice is just another cage. Above me, the shapes gathered, their combined presence bending the night, and I knew part 12 was the end of running. Soon, I would have to choose between waking the town completely or letting it fall asleep forever. I stayed hidden until my breathing slowed. The cold bit through my clothes, grounding me just enough to keep my thoughts sharp. Above the playground, the sky pulsed faintly. I understood something then that Mark had almost said before he was taken. Awakening did not make people stronger. It made them honest. Every fear, every resentment, Every secret thought surfaced when the dream cracked. Some people chose courage, others chose cruelty. The shapes did not create that division. They exploited it. I left the playground and followed the river path, keeping to the shadows. The water was frozen solid, its surface reflecting the warped lights above like broken glass. On the far bank, I saw figures kneeling together, heads bowed, whispering prayers or curses or both. A man spotted me and waved me over. "You should not be alone," he said. I hesitated. That was how it started. I shook my head and kept moving. Behind me, the group fell silent. I felt eyes on my back until the path curved and hid them from view. The notebook was almost empty now, its pages torn or smeared. Only one line remained legible. "Awakening is contagious." That meant it could also be directed. I realized then that broadcasting truth was not enough. People needed context, choice, preparation. Otherwise, awareness shattered them. I reached the old community center near the river, its doors hanging open. Inside, folding chairs were arranged in a loose circle. Someone had tried to organize things here. Bodies lay slumped in those chairs now, asleep, guarded by two shapes that turned as I entered. They did not attack, they watched. Testing, I stepped into the center of the room. "If you want me," I said aloud. "Then listen." The shapes tilted their heads. I raised my voice. "You cannot reset what is already fractured. Too many people are awake. Too many minds are resisting." The air vibrated with restrained anger. "You will destroy them," the voice replied calmly. "You will leave them broken." "Maybe," I said, "but broken awake is still human." The shapes shifted uneasily. I felt it then. Fear, not from me, from them. They were afraid of what a fully awake town would become. I backed toward the exit slowly, never breaking eye contact. "I am not your enemy," I said, "but I am not your caretaker either." Outside, the night cracked with distant screams and laughter, humanity asserting itself in the only ways it knew how. As I slipped back into the streets, a grim certainty settled in my chest. This was no longer about survival. It was about authorship. Who got to decide what consciousness was worth? And by morning, one side would be gone. Morning did not arrive. Light crept into the town in thin, uncertain bands, like something afraid to fully reveal itself. The sky hovered between night and day, bruised purple and gray, as if time itself was waiting for permission to move forward. I had not slept, not even for a second. Sleep was no longer a temptation. It was an enemy crouched just behind my eyes, waiting for weakness. The courthouse mass still loomed at the center of town, cracked and pulsing, leaking light and shadow with every slow beat. It did not chase anymore. It did not need to. It ruled by gravity. People moved around it instinctively, heads down, bodies heavy, as if the air grew thicker the closer they came. Those who approached too near slowed, staggered, then sat and slept where they fell. The reset was happening in pieces. I found the community shelter by following voices that did not whisper, real voices. Dozens of people packed inside the old fire station, lights blazing, doors barricaded with overturned trucks and furniture. Generators rattled loudly, a constant mechanical growl that cut through the hum of the entities. Noise helped. Pain helped. Awareness thrived on friction. When I entered, conversations died instantly. They recognized me. "You started this," a man said from the back. His voice shook with exhaustion and anger. I did not deny it. I tried to stop it. I said, "That is not the same thing." A woman stepped forward, eyes hollow. "My sister has not slept in 30 hours, she said. "She is bleeding from her nose. She keeps screaming if we let her close her eyes." Another voice cut in. "My father fell asleep outside. We could not wake him." The room pressed in on me, heavy with grief and expectation. They were awake, and they were breaking. This was the cost I had avoided naming. Awareness without limits destroyed people as surely as enforced sleep. "We need rules," someone said. "Real ones." All eyes turned to me. I swallowed. "Short sleep only," I said. "Controlled, never alone. Someone awake at all times. Rotate. If someone starts dreaming out loud, wake them immediately." A man laughed bitterly. "You sound like a warden." The word stung. "Better a warden than a shepherd," I said quietly. Murmurs rippled through the room. A teenager raised her hand. "What about children?" The question hit me harder than any accusation. I thought of Emma and Lily. "Children cannot fight this alone," I said. "They sleep together. Adults stay awake nearby." Always. Silence followed. They understood what that meant. No rest, no relief. The generators faltered. Lights flickered. The hum outside deepened. The entities were responding. One of the barricaded doors bowed inward slightly, metal groaning. "They are reacting to us organizing," I said. "They do not want structure." The courthouse mass brightened, its cracks knitting together. A voice rolled through the town, no longer whispering, no longer intimate. "You are fragmenting yourselves," it said. "You are suffering needlessly." People clutched their ears. "Sleep will heal you," a woman screamed. "Liar." The door buckled again. "We have to choose," I said loudly. "Who stays awake and who rests?" The room erupted. Arguments, tears, shouting. Fear fed the air. The door burst inward. Shapes poured into the station, no longer careful. They moved fast now, their forms sharp and defined by desperation. "Stay awake," I shouted. Someone fired a flare gun. Blinding red light filled the room. The shapes recoiled, shrieking. Light hurt them. Pain hurt them. Truth hurt them. We pushed back together, bodies colliding, voices raised, holding the line with nothing but refusal. But refusal had limits. A shape broke through near the rear, pressing its face close to a man who had stopped shouting, stopped moving. He collapsed instantly. Taken. The rules were not enough. I saw the pattern then. They did not need everyone asleep. They only needed enough. The rest would follow. I climbed onto a table and screamed until my throat tore. "Listen to me. They feed on averages, on crowds, on balance. If too many sleep, the rest fall. If too many wake, people die. We need imbalance. Controlled imbalance." I jumped down and grabbed a marker from a desk. I wrote on the wall, "Volunteers only. Sleep in shifts. 1 hour maximum. 2 watchers per sleeper. Children exempt. No exceptions." The writing shook. This was not leadership. This was triage. The shapes pressed closer, furious now. "You are choosing who suffers." The voice thundered. "Yes," I said, "because you already did." The flare sputtered out. Darkness rushed in. For a moment, everything hung in balance. Then someone spoke. "I will watch." Another voice followed. "Me too." Hands rose, slowly, painfully. Hope did not feel good. It felt heavy, but it was real. The courthouse mass shuddered. Cracks spread wider. For the first time, the town pushed back not as individuals, but as a system, and the things that ruled sleep finally understood they could be challenged, but the price would be terrible. The station shook as if something massive had leaned its full weight against the walls. Dust fell from the ceiling. I stopped beside the woman with the sleepless sister. The sister lay on the floor now, wrapped in coats, her body jerking every few seconds. "She has been dreaming with her eyes open," the woman whispered. "She keeps saying there are bells." The shapes pressed harder against the barricade. "They are focusing on leaders now," someone shouted. "On anyone who keeps others awake." Of course they were. Awareness spread fastest through voices. I felt their attention settle on me again, heavy and intimate. "Daniel Carter." The voice no longer roared. It spoke softly, confidently. "You are rationing consciousness." I clenched my jaw. "You ration sleep," I said. "This is fair. Fairness is irrelevant." It replied, "Stability is all that matters." A firefighter stepped up beside me, helmet still on, face smeared with soot. "We can rotate alarms," he said. "Sirens, air horns. Keep the sound irregular." "Good," I said. "Predictability helps them." He nodded and ran to organize. Sleep crept in immediately, subtle and sweet. I shouted warnings, but exhaustion dulled reaction times. 3 people fell asleep at once. The mass surged. "They are testing tolerance." I yelled, "Do not trust calm." Too late. A section of the wall buckled inward. Shapes poured through like smoke. Chaos exploded. Screams, running, impact. I was knocked to the floor. A weight pressed on my chest. Cold and heavy, I stared into a face that almost belonged to my brother. "Almost. You cannot carry this forever," it whispered. I spat in its face. The taste burned. It recoiled, screeching, and vanished into shadow. Hands grabbed me and hauled me up. We retreated deeper into the station, abandoning the front rooms, sealing fire doors behind us. Smoke filled the air from something burning outside. I stood in the center of the remaining crowd, voice shredded, body shaking. "Listen to me. This is the last phase. They cannot force sleep if we keep moving. Static groups fail. We rotate, we relocate. No center, nomads," someone muttered. "Yes," I said. "Awake nomads." The shapes hesitated again. They hated uncertainty. As the first group slipped out the back into the snow, I felt something shift. Not victory, momentum. The courthouse mass cracked wider, chunks sloughing off into the night. The entities screamed in unison, a sound of pure frustration. I knew then that dawn, if it ever came, would not save us. Only movement would. And somewhere ahead lay the moment when I would have to decide whether to keep leading or finally sleep. The town began to move, not as one body, but as fragments sliding past each other in the snow. Small groups drifted through side streets and alleys, following no map except the need to stay awake and the fear of stopping. Generators were abandoned. Barricades were left behind. Movement became the only shelter left to us. I walked with 3 others I barely knew. A firefighter named Cole with a broken hand wrapped in duct tape. A college student named Brianna, whose eyes never stopped scanning the dark, and an older man called Frank who carried a crowbar and spoke only when necessary. We did not trust each other. Trust took time. Time was something none of us had. The courthouse mass loomed behind us as we moved east, its fractured surface pulsing like a diseased heart. Each beat sent a pressure wave through the streets. When it hit, we staggered, leaned on one another, cursed, and kept walking. The shapes hunted differently now. They no longer rushed. They waited. We learned that the hard way near the train yard. A group ahead of us stopped arguing in the middle of the tracks. Accusations flew. Someone wanted to rest. Someone else wanted to turn back. Voices rose. The shapes slid out of the darkness around them, smooth and silent. By the time we reached the yard, the argument was over. Everyone was asleep, standing, eyes closed, breathing slow. The shapes did not even look at us. They already had what they needed. We kept moving. Brianna whispered, "They let us see that." I nodded. Fear travels faster when witnessed. Near dawn that never fully arrived, we encountered the first betrayal. A man named Lewis had been traveling with another group parallel to ours. He caught up to us at an intersection, breathless and shaking. "They are coming," he said. "You have to hide." Cole frowned. "Hide where?" Lewis pointed toward a warehouse. Inside, thick walls. "Quiet!" I felt something tighten in my chest. Quiet was dangerous, but the pressure wave hit before I could object. Brianna stumbled. Frank cursed. We followed Lewis inside. The doors slammed shut behind us. The warehouse lights flickered on. Dozens of people sat on the floor inside, eyes closed. Sleepers. My heart dropped. Lewis backed away from us, smiling weakly. "I am sorry," he said. "They promised my wife would wake up if I brought more." The shapes emerged from the walls like reflections peeling free. Cole lunged for Lewis. Too late. The pressure crushed down on us like gravity. I screamed for everyone to move. Frank swung his crowbar, striking empty air. Brianna collapsed to her knees, hands over her ears. The shapes closed in. I felt sleep tear at me, violent and absolute. Then something snapped. Anger burned through exhaustion. I grabbed a steel pipe from the floor and slammed it against a metal support beam. The noise screamed through the warehouse. Pain flared in my arms. The sleepers jerked. The shapes recoiled. Again, I shouted, "Keep hitting." Cole understood instantly. He smashed a fire extinguisher against the wall. Frank hammered the floor. Noise tore the warehouse apart. The shapes shrieked and retreated, dragging Lewis with them as he screamed. We ran. Outside, the sky twisted violently, bands of light tearing across it like scars. Brianna sobbed as we ran. "They tricked him." I shook my head. "He chose." The difference mattered. By the time we reached the river, Brianna was slowing. "I cannot keep going," she whispered. Cole took her arm. "You do not stop." She looked at me. "Please." I saw it then. She was done. If she slept, the pressure would spike again. She knew it too. I shook my head. "We keep moving." She smiled sadly. "I am tired of running." Before we could stop her, she stepped back. The shapes rose instantly from the river fog. Cole shouted her name. Brianna turned once and mouthed thank you. Then she slept. The shapes took her gently. The pressure eased. Frank lowered his crowbar. She saved us. I stared at the water, shaking. This was what it had come to. People choosing sleep as a weapon. We crossed the bridge in silence. Behind us, the courthouse mass flared brighter. It was learning from us, and soon it would learn how to make sacrifice unnecessary. That was when I realized we were not just fighting monsters. We were teaching them. We did not stop after the bridge. Stopping meant thinking. Thinking meant remembering faces that were no longer with us. The riverbank stretched ahead, frozen reeds rattling softly in a wind that did not exist. Each step sent a shock of pain up my legs. Sleep waited patiently, confident that gravity and exhaustion would finish what whispers could not. Cole walked beside me in silence. His broken hand clenched so tightly, I thought the bones might grind together. Frank lagged behind, breathing hard, every breath a decision. The pressure wave rolled over us again. Frank dropped to one knee. I turned back, grabbing his coat. No. He looked up at me, eyes clear despite the shaking. I am awake, he said. Just old. He forced himself up. Ahead, shapes moved between trees, pacing us, no longer hiding their interest. They did not rush. They did not need to. They were learning patience. We reached a residential block where houses stood dark and open, doors swinging slightly. Inside one, a television blared static at full volume. Someone had tried to use noise as a shield. It had worked. For a while, a family huddled inside, eyes wide, clutching each other. They stared at us like ghosts. Do not stop, I told them. Move. Stay together. A man shook his head. My daughter cannot walk anymore. The girl lay on the couch, eyes fluttering. The shapes waited just beyond the doorway. Cole looked at me. Say it. I swallowed. If she sleeps, the pressure will ease, I said, but they will take her. The father sobbed. Frank turned away. The girl opened her eyes and smiled faintly. It is okay, she whispered. I screamed for them to move. They did not. The girl slept. The shapes flowed inside like smoke. We ran. Cole punched a wall as we fled, blood streaking the brick. They are making us do this. Yes, I said, and we are letting them. The realization cut deep. Sacrifice was becoming strategy, and strategy was becoming habit. The courthouse mass pulsed violently, absorbing what it learned. Pain, choice, Traude. By the time we reached the industrial park, dawn tried and failed again, light bleeding briefly across the horizon before being swallowed. Frank stopped. I am done, he said calmly. I grabbed him. No, he met my eyes. You need people who can keep moving. I cannot. He stepped back before I could argue. He struck his crowbar against a steel post again and again, the sound ripping through the air. The shapes surged toward the noise. Frank smiled at me. Run! Cole dragged me away as Frank kept striking, louder, harder, until the pressure wave flattened the street. Then silence. When it lifted, Frank was gone. The shapes had taken him. The pressure eased. Cole collapsed against a fence, sobbing. They are training us, he said, teaching us to feed them. I stared at the glowing sky. No, I said. They are learning from us, and if we keep teaching them this lesson, they will never need to hunt again. They will just wait, and we will deliver ourselves. That was when I understood what had to change. We could not keep paying with people. The next sacrifice would not be voluntary. It would be me. I stopped running. The decision felt heavier than any step I had taken since Christmas morning. Cole stumbled when I halted, nearly colliding with my back. "What are you doing?" he whispered urgently. I turned to face him. His face was hollow, eyes rimmed red, jaw clenched against fear and grief. "This ends with me," I said. He shook his head violently. "No, that is what they want." "Exactly," I replied. The truth tasted like metal on my tongue. Every sacrifice so far had taught the shapes something new. How fear worked, how anger worked, how guilt worked. They had learned to wait, to bargain, to accept offerings, but they had not learned one thing yet: refusal. I told Cole to keep moving east, to find others, to tell them one thing only: do not trade people for relief. He stared at me for a long second, then nodded once. He did not argue again. He knew what arguing cost. When he disappeared into the broken streets, I turned back toward the courthouse. The mass glowed brighter now, swollen with stolen sleep. Cracks pulsed across its surface, leaking distorted images of dreams. I saw fragments of kitchens, beds, childhood bedrooms, all layered together like rot beneath paint. As I approached, the pressure increased until my knees shook. Each step felt like wading through deep water. Sleep clawed at me, not gently, but with rage. I welcomed it. I let my eyes close for a heartbeat. The world tilted. I stood in a warm living room that smelled like pine and coffee. Morning sunlight spilled across the floor. Sarah stood by the window, smiling, the girls laughing behind her. "You look exhausted," she said softly. I almost laughed. "Of course she said that." I stepped forward. "I know what you are," I said calmly. Her smile flickered. "This is what you want, Daniel. Rest, family, quiet." I shook my head. "This is what you want me to want." The living room trembled. The walls rippled like fabric. I felt something press closer. Curious. "I am not here to sleep," I continued. "I am here to be seen." The scene shattered. I slammed awake in the street, directly before the courthouse steps. The mass loomed overhead, no longer pretending to be abstract. Faces pressed against its surface, some human, some not, all frozen in half-dreams. "You have come to offer yourself," the voice said, layered and vast. "No," I said. "I have come to deny you." The pressure spiked violently, trying to force me under. I dropped to one knee, hands digging into the snow. I focused on pain, cold biting my skin, blood running from my nose, my heart hammering in my chest. "I am awake," I shouted. The sound echoed unnaturally, amplified by the mass itself. Around us, the streets fell silent. Even the wind seemed to pause. I stepped onto the courthouse steps. "I will not sleep," I said. "I will not bargain. I will not trade." The mass pulsed. Then others appeared, not shapes. People. Small groups emerged from side streets and alleys, drawn by the confrontation. Faces pale, eyes wide. Awake. Cole had done his part. The mass hesitated, This was new awareness without offering. "You are harming them," the voice said. I turned and addressed the people behind me. "They will tell you sleep is mercy," I said loudly. "That rest is kindness. But ask yourselves one thing: who benefits?" Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The pressure faltered. I felt the mass strain, reshaping itself, trying to adapt. It pushed memories at me harder. My mother, my father, Mark. Faces I loved twisted with concern. "You can stop this," it whispered. "Just lie down." I smiled through blood. "No." I stepped forward again. "If you feed on sleep," I said, "then choke on wakefulness." I reached into my pocket and pulled out the last page of the notebook. I tore it in half. The mass screamed, not in pain, in confusion. Rules only mattered because we believed them. I stood there, shaking, refusing to close my eyes, refusing to give in. The pressure began to tear inward instead of outward. Cracks spread fast across the mass. Light poured out. People cried out behind me as the weight lifted slightly from the town. The mass recoiled, contracting, unstable. "You do not understand what you are destroying," the voice roared. I looked up at it, exhausted beyond fear. "Then explain it to me while I am awake." The mass convulsed. For the first time since Christmas morning, the courthouse clock ticked forward 1 second. Time moved. The mass screamed again, this time in panic. I laughed weakly. "You needed stillness," I said. "You needed endless night." I forced myself to stay standing as the ground shook. This was not victory, but it was disruption. And disruption was how systems failed. As the light burst outward, I felt myself beginning to slip, not into sleep, into something deeper. But before darkness claimed me, I heard voices, human voices, shouting, running, "Awake!" And I knew the town had finally seen that the monsters could bleed, even if the cost was me. I did not fall immediately. The light pouring from the mass washed over me in waves, each one peeling back another layer of exhaustion. My thoughts sharpened painfully. Every nerve screamed. This was what it felt like to deny gravity. The crowd behind me grew as more people approached, drawn not by hope, but by the absence of pressure. Some fell to their knees in relief. Others stared at the sky, laughing or crying without understanding why. The mass struggled to reform, its surface churning with incompatible shapes. It tried to project calm again, then terror, then familiarity. None of it landed. Too many eyes were open. "You will collapse them," the voice snarled. "Minds are not meant to endure this." I turned my head just enough to look back. "Look at them," I said. "They are still standing." A woman held her child tightly, rocking without sleeping. A man punched the ground and laughed. A teenager screamed at the sky just to hear something real. Pain anchored them. Choice anchored them. The mass shrank further, folding in on itself. I felt something change deep inside my chest, like a knot loosening. The pull of sleep weakened, not gone, but negotiable. I took another step up the courthouse stairs. My vision tunneled, black creeping in from the edges. If I fell now, the mass would surge back. I could not fall. I thought of every rule we had written, everyone we had broken. They were not laws. They were training wheels. The real rule was simpler. Awareness must cost something. I let the cost be me. I lifted my arms and screamed again, raw and wordless, pouring every ounce of fear and anger outward. The sound ripped through the square. The mass shattered, not exploded, unraveled. Chunks of shadow peeled away and dissolved into light. The faces within stretched and vanished. Dreams released violently back into the world. People collapsed around me, not asleep, but overwhelmed. The pressure was gone. The town exhaled. I dropped to my knees as the last of my strength failed. This time, when darkness rushed in, it did not feel like surrender. It felt like release. I heard someone call my name. I felt hands on my shoulders. I did not know if I would wake again, but I knew one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever came next, the monsters would never be invisible again. And that meant humanity had already won something they could never take back. I woke to the sound of breathing, not the vast hum that had followed me since Christmas morning, but something close and human, ragged, unsteady. I opened my eyes to a ceiling stained with smoke and watermarks. Fluorescent lights flickered weakly overhead. I was alive. That realization came with no relief. My body felt like it had been hollowed out and filled with glass. Every movement sent shards of pain through my limbs. My throat burned as if I had been screaming for hours. Someone leaned over me. Cole, his face was gray with exhaustion, eyes red and unfocused. When he saw my eyes open, his shoulders sagged. "You disappeared," he said hoarsely. "We thought you were gone." I tried to speak. Only a rasp came out. He handed me a bottle of water and helped me sit up slowly. The room swam. We were in the high school cafeteria. Cots lined the walls. Dozens of people lay on them, some awake, some staring at the ceiling, others shaking in half dreams they could not escape. None of them were truly asleep. The air felt wrong, thin, as if the town itself was holding its breath. "What happened?" I asked finally. Cole rubbed his face. After the light, the pressure dropped everywhere. People collapsed, not sleeping, just overwhelmed. The mass broke apart. It did not vanish. It scattered. That was worse. I closed my eyes briefly and immediately felt the pull. Sleep rushed at me like a tide. I jerked awake, gasping. Cole nodded grimly. "Yeah, same for everyone. It is still there, just weaker, fractured." I sat still, focusing on pain to anchor myself. "What about time?" I asked. Cole glanced at the wall clock. "It is moving, slow, uneven, but it moves." That mattered. Movement meant the system was not stable anymore. A woman screamed nearby. We both turned. A teenage boy thrashed on his cot, eyes open, pupils blown wide. He clawed at his chest, sobbing. "They are inside me," he screamed. "They are trying to put me back." Two adults rushed to hold him down. "Do not let him sleep," Cole shouted. I forced myself to my feet and staggered over. "Look at me," I said, gripping the boy's face. "Count my words. Say them back." He choked out numbers, tears streaming down his face. The invisible pressure eased slightly, but it did not leave. The shapes were no longer a single presence. They were fragments, and fragments were harder to fight. I moved through the cafeteria, listening. Everywhere I went, I heard the same thing. Dreams bleeding into waking moments, familiar voices calling gently, the promise of rest. They were adapting again. Without the mass, they could not force sleep, but they could exhaust us. They were starving us slowly. By afternoon, the generators sputtered. Fuel was running low. People argued quietly about who should stay awake and who should rest. The same arguments, the same fault lines. I saw it coming before it happened. A man stood up near the center of the room and announced that he was done. "I cannot do this anymore," he said calmly. "I am going to lie down. If they take me, at least I will not feel it." Several people pleaded with him. He smiled sadly. "I am tired of pain." He lay down and closed his eyes. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the pressure surged violently around his body, like a whirlpool forming in air. He convulsed once, then went still. The pressure around us dropped noticeably. A collective shudder passed through the room. They felt it. They were learning again. Sacrifice still worked. My stomach twisted. This could not continue. I climbed onto a table, legs shaking, voice raw. "Listen to me. They cannot force us anymore," I said, "but they can wait us out. They want us to trade ourselves piece by piece." Murmurs rippled. "We cannot let them set the terms," a woman shouted back. "Then what do we do? No one can stay awake forever." I met her gaze. "No, but we can choose how we rest." Silence fell. I explained what I had felt when the mass shattered, how sleep weakened when awareness was shared, how proximity mattered, how moving together disrupted their focus. "We stop fighting sleep alone," I said. "We rest together, awake watchers, rotations, noise, touch, pain if necessary." Someone whispered, "That sounds like torture." I nodded. "It is, but it is temporary. They want eternal sleep." I let that sink in. We began reorganizing immediately. Groups formed, shifts assigned, music played irregularly, alarms set at uneven intervals. It was messy, imperfect, human. As evening fell again, the pull lessened, not gone, but manageable. Cole sat beside me on a bench. "You broke them," he said quietly. I shook my head. "No, I just showed them we would not cooperate." Outside, the sky darkened naturally for the first time since Christmas morning. Night returned, but this time it did not feel endless. I leaned back against the wall, every muscle screaming, eyes burning. I did not know how long this would last. Hours, days, but I knew this. The monsters no longer owned sleep. They had to negotiate for it, and humanity had learned the price of saying no. Sleep did not come easily that night. Even when my eyes closed, my mind refused to sink. Images skidded across my thoughts like broken glass. Faces, streets. The moment the mass had shattered, I lay there counting breaths while Cole sat nearby, tapping my boot with his foot every few minutes just to keep me anchored. Around us, the shelter hummed with strained life. People whispered stories aloud so they would not drift. Some sang softly, others recited phone numbers, prayers, grocery lists, anything ordinary enough to keep the extraordinary at bay. The fragments tested us constantly. I felt them brush against my thoughts like cold fingers in water. When one tactic failed, another followed. comfort, shame, rage, nostalgia. That was how it worked now. Awareness was an act of violence against oneself. By morning, 3 more people had chosen sleep. Each time, the pressure dipped. Each time, the fragments grew more confident. When someone lay down and closed their eyes, we did not pull away. We stayed close. We touched. We shouted. We refused to let the room go quiet. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it did not. But the pressure never dropped as cleanly again. The fragments became erratic. They whispered lies to different people at once, trying to provoke conflict. Accusations flared. Old grudges resurfaced. A fight broke out near the lockers until we dragged the men apart, forcing them to sit back to back and count breaths until their shaking stopped. This was what survival looked like now. Messy, exhausting, unheroic. If we wanted to end this, truly end it, we would have to force them to gather again, but not on their terms. On ours. The thought terrified me. I shared it with Cole quietly. "You want to rebuild the monster," he said. I nodded, just long enough to finish it. He stared at the floor for a long time before answering. "Then we better choose where." I looked around the cafeteria, at the people fighting sleep with everything they had. "Not here," I said. "Somewhere empty. Somewhere loud. Somewhere we control." Outside, distant sirens wailed briefly, then cut off. The town was still alive, wounded, but alive. As night deepened again, I felt the fragments circling closer, confused by our refusal to play their game cleanly. They wanted order. We gave them chaos, and chaos, for the first time, belonged to us. The plan began with noise. Not the chaotic shouting we had relied on before, but something deliberate, rhythmic, predictable enough to be noticed, irregular enough to remain irritating. Sirens from abandoned patrol cars, air horns scavenged from boats along the river, church bells rung by hand, offbeat and relentless. We chose the industrial park on the edge of town, empty warehouses, open concrete lots, nothing soft, nothing comforting. Sound traveled far there, bouncing and folding back on itself until it became impossible to ignore. If the fragments were drawn to awareness, then awareness would draw them. I watched from the roof of a loading dock as the first groups took position. People spread out in loose circles, each with 2 watchers rotating constantly. No one lay down. No one closed their eyes fully. Cole coordinated from below, shouting instructions through a megaphone until his voice cracked. "They are coming," someone said softly beside me. I felt it too. The air thickened, pressure gathering like humidity before a storm. Shadows stretched unnaturally long across the concrete. The fragments slid in from every direction, hesitant at first, then faster as the noise intensified. They did not merge immediately. They circled, testing. I raised the radio to my mouth. "Increase volume." I said, "Do not synchronize." Sirens overlapped. Bells clanged. Air horns blasted in uneven bursts. Pain bloomed behind my eyes. The fragments recoiled, then surged closer again. They were learning to endure it. We needed the next step. I climbed down and walked into the open lot. Heart hammering, Cole grabbed my arm. "You do not have to do this." "Yes, I do." I stepped into the center. The fragments focused instantly. drawn by recognition. Daniel Carter, they whispered. Dozens of voices layered together. You want us whole again, the voice said calmly. I nodded. Yes, the honesty startled them. Why? So you cannot hide behind pieces, I said, so we can finish this. Laughter rippled through the fragments. You believe you control the terms. I looked around at the people standing their ground, faces pale but determined. No, I said, we share them. The pressure spiked, slamming into me. I staggered but did not fall. I opened my arms. If you want me, come together. The fragments hesitated, then began to move. Shadows flowed inward, stitching themselves together above the concrete. The mass reformed, smaller than before, but denser, its surface writhing with trapped dreams. People screamed as the pressure surged outward again. Several fell to their knees. Watchers shook them violently, shouting, "Stay awake." I dropped to one knee, blood dripping onto the concrete. I am awake, I shouted. The mass loomed, towering and furious. You will break them, it roared. I smiled weakly. That was always your threat. The noise reached a fever pitch. Sirens screamed. Bells rang wildly. The mass convulsed. Cracks appeared again, but this time they did not spread outward. They folded inward. The fragments were trapped. You are starving us, the voice hissed. I met its gaze. Good. I pulled the final piece of the plan from my pocket. A simple timer. I set it and tossed it onto the concrete at my feet. It began to beep irregularly, sound layered on sound. The mass thrashed, unable to focus, unable to disperse without losing cohesion. People around the lot shouted encouragement, anger, defiance. Awareness surged like a tide. The mass screamed as parts of it began to peel away, not dissolving, but collapsing inward. It was feeding on itself. Time slowed again. The clock on the warehouse wall ticked twice, then stopped. The mass froze mid-convulsion. I felt something snap. The pressure vanished, not eased. Gone. Shadows fell flat. People staggered, but remained awake. The mass hung suspended, inert, like a frozen storm. For a long moment, no one moved. Then someone laughed. It was thin and hysterical, but it was human. I collapsed onto my back, staring at the sky. The plan had worked, but I knew better than to call it victory. We had cornered something ancient, and trapped things do not die quietly. Relief was dangerous. I learned that within seconds of hitting the ground. Muscles unlocked, breath deepened. The temptation to close my eyes crept in, soft and persuasive. I forced myself to sit up. Around me, people swayed, some laughing, some crying, some simply staring at the frozen mass, as if afraid it might blink. Do not sleep, I croaked. Not yet. Cole was at my side instantly, hauling me upright. We are clear, he said. The pressure is gone. I shook my head. It is not gone. It is contained. The mass remained suspended above the concrete, its surface no longer writhing, but faintly rippling like a held breath. Faces pressed against it, frozen mid-expression. We moved cautiously. Every instinct screamed that approaching it was a mistake. But this was the moment we had engineered. I stood beneath it, neck craned back, feeling nothing, no pull, no whisper, just silence. For the first time since Christmas morning, the world felt ordinary. That terrified me. because ordinary meant fragile. A woman nearby whispered, "Is it dead?" I answered honestly, "I do not know." I pressed my palm against the air beneath the mass, cold, dense, like touching glass that remembered being liquid. The timer at my feet continued to beep irregularly. I let it. Predictability was a kindness we could not afford. The fragments inside the mass began to shift again, not violently, but restlessly. They were not gone. They were confused. Awareness without resistance was unfamiliar to them. We had always reacted. This time, we watched. Minutes passed. The clock on the warehouse wall lurched forward 1 second, then another. Time resumed. The mass shuddered. Cracks spider-webbed across its surface again, slow and deliberate. This was different. It was not trying to escape. It was destabilizing. "You have made us small," the voice whispered faintly. "No longer vast, no longer certain." I looked up. Good. We did not attack it. We did not celebrate. We waited, and in that waiting, something fundamental shifted. The mass depended on reaction, on panic, on desperation. Denied those, it began to collapse under its own weight. A chunk of shadow fell from the mass and hit the concrete with a sound like wet ash. It did not move. It did not reform. It dissolved. People gasped. Another piece fell, then another. The mass sagged, shrinking visibly, not feeding, starving. I felt my knees weaken. This was working, but the cost was time. We could not leave. If we slept, if we dispersed, it would reassemble. I turned to Cole. "We hold this place. For how long?" he asked. "As long as it takes for morning to mean morning again." He nodded once and began organizing watches around the perimeter. People settled into grim determination, backs against concrete, eyes wide, hands shaking but steady. No one volunteered to sleep. As the mass continued to shed itself piece by piece, the sky lightened almost imperceptibly. True dawn. Not forced, not stalled, earned. I lay back on the cold concrete, eyes open, watching color return to the world. This was not the end, but it was the first honest beginning we had seen since everything fell asleep. And if the cost was staying awake together, then we would pay it, because now we knew monsters that require silence and surrender cannot survive in daylight. Morning finally arrived, not the artificial gray glow that had hovered over the town for days, but real morning. Pale gold light crept over the industrial park, touching concrete and metal and frost with equal indifference. It felt almost rude. How normal it was. None of us slept. We stood or sat where we were, backs against walls, eyes red and burning, watching the frozen mass suspended above the lot slowly decay. Piece by piece, it shed itself, not violently, not dramatically, quietly. Chunks of shadow loosened, fell, and dissolved into nothing before they hit the ground. Each time it happened, a murmur passed through the crowd. Not celebration, but disbelief. It was dying. Starvation was not quick. It was thorough. Cole stood beside me, his face streaked with grime and tears he had not bothered to wipe away. "I can hear birds," he said softly. I listened. He was right. Somewhere beyond the factories and empty lots, birds were calling. tentative at first, then louder, as if testing whether the world would answer back. The sound hurt. It reminded us how much we had lost. People began to shake, not from fear this time, but from exhaustion finally asserting itself. Bodies that had been held upright by terror were failing now that terror had loosened its grip. This was the danger we had not solved. Sleep without the mass, without the pressure. Sleep rushed in uncontrolled. I watched a woman slide down a wall, eyes fluttering closed. I was at her side instantly. "Not alone," I said, gripping her shoulders. "Stay with us." She sobbed and nodded, clinging to my jacket like a lifeline. Around us, the same scene repeated. Relief was becoming lethal. We had to manage rest now, or we would lose people anyway. I climbed onto a crate, legs trembling. "Listen to me," my voice barely carried, but people leaned in. "The threat is not gone," I said, "but it is weak. That means we cannot collapse all at once." Groans answered me. "I know," I said. "I know you are tired, but if too many of us sleep at once, whatever remains will take advantage." That was the truth. The fragments were almost gone, but not entirely. I could feel them still, like cold residue clinging to the edges of thought. We set new rules. Crude, immediate. Groups of 5, 2 sleep, 3 watch, 30 minutes only. Wake gently but firmly. No one sleeps alone. No one sleeps in silence. Someone laughed weakly. "This is insane." I nodded. "Yes, but it works." The first rotations began. Watching people sleep safely felt wrong after everything we had endured. Each closed eye sent a spike of panic through the watches, but nothing happened. No pressure, no whisper, just breathing. For the first time, sleep looked like what it used to be, human. The mass above us shrank steadily, now barely the size of a truck. Its surface was dull, cracked, hollow. I felt it watching us, not hunting, judging. "Daniel Carter," it whispered faintly, a voice like wind through dead leaves. I stepped away from the group, heart pounding. "You are still here," I said. "Barely. You have starved us." It said, "You have changed the balance." I crossed my arms, shivering. "You changed it first." There was a long pause. Then the voice spoke again. "Weaker. We kept you safe." Anger flared hot and sharp. "You kept us asleep. Sleep is safety." It insisted. I shook my head. "Sleep without choice is a cage." The mass trembled. "You will destroy yourselves." It said, "Exhaustion will finish what we could not." I looked back at the people resting carefully in shifts, supporting one another. "Maybe," I said, "but that will be our decision." The mass sagged further. "We only wanted equilibrium," it murmured. I laughed softly. So did every tyrant. The last large piece fell away, dissolving into light that vanished instantly. All that remained was a thin smear of shadow, stretched like oil across the air. A scar. It did not speak again. By midday, the industrial park looked like a refugee camp. People shared food, scavenged from abandoned stores. Water was rationed. Stories spilled out in bursts as shock wore off. No one trusted silence yet, but laughter appeared. Small, fragile, real. Cole sat beside me again, eyes half closed. "If I sleep," he said, "wake me." I nodded. "Always." The sky brightened fully. Time moved normally. Clocks ticked, phones buzzed back to life sporadically as networks tried to reconnect. The world was resuming, but none of us were the same. I leaned back against the crate, staring at the sky. We had won something. Not peace, not safety, choice. And I understood then that the cost of choice was vigilance. Forever. As the sun climbed higher, I closed my eyes for the first time since Christmas morning, not to surrender, but to rest, with others watching, with the monsters starving, and with morning finally meaning morning again. By afternoon, the cracks inside people began to show. Sleep, even controlled, came with consequences. Those who woke from their short rotations did not wake cleanly. Some cried without knowing why. Others laughed too loudly. A few stared into nothing, hands shaking, minds struggling to accept that the pressure was truly gone. Trauma does not leave when danger does. It lingers. I walked the perimeter, checking on each group. I listened more than I spoke. Stories spilled out in fragments. The monsters had not only stolen rest, they had rewritten desire. We began to see the after effects physically. Nosebleeds, migraines, sudden tremors, people collapsing not into sleep, but into shock. This was the cost of staying awake too long. The fragments tested us one last time. Late in the afternoon, as the sun slanted low, a ripple passed through the camp. Several people froze at once, heads tilting as if listening to something distant. I felt it, a faint pull, not from above, from within. The scar in the air shimmered briefly, not feeding, begging, just a little rest. The whisper said, barely audible, just enough to balance things. I stood beneath the scar, heart pounding. You do not get to decide balance anymore, I said quietly. The whisper faded. The scar thinned until it was almost invisible. Night approached slowly, honestly, the way it should. We prepared. Fires were lit, rotations adjusted, children were kept close, never alone. Fear did not vanish, but it no longer ruled. As darkness fell, I realized something unsettling. We would never forget this. Every night from now on, someone would listen to their own breathing and wonder if it was safe to close their eyes. That was the true legacy of the monsters. Not death, awareness. Cole joined me again as stars appeared. Real stars, sharp and cold. Do you think they are gone? He asked. I considered the question carefully. Gone, I said. No, broken and afraid. That will have to be enough. I lay back and watched the sky change color. Purple to black, black to scattered white points of light. Around me, people rested in careful turns, hands linked, voices murmuring softly. Sleep returned as a shared act, not a surrender. I felt myself drifting at last. This time, when darkness came, it did not carry whispers, only dreams. And when I woke again, briefly, just before full night settled, I knew this story would be told for years, not as a victory, but as a warning. Because monsters that teach humans how to stay awake do not disappear. They change us, and once you learn how to watch the dark, you never stop. The outside world found us slowly. It did not come with helicopters or sirens at first. It came with a single text message that made its way through the camp like a rumor. "Are you alive?" Phones had been useless for days. Dead slabs of glass and plastic. Now, one by one, screens flickered to life as weak signals reached the edge of town. Missed calls multiplied. Voicemails stacked up. The world had noticed something was wrong. I stood near the remains of the industrial lot, watching people react as messages arrived. Some laughed, some cried, some dropped their phones as if burned. Connection was overwhelming. "Help is coming," someone shouted. The word help felt foreign. We had survived without it. Cole joined me, holding his phone with both hands. "National Guard units are mobilizing," he said. "They think it is some kind of mass psych event." I nodded. That was close enough. We debated whether to respond. Telling the truth would sound insane. Not telling it would invite chaos. In the end, we sent a simple message. People did not sleep. Something fed on it. We stopped cooperating. That was all. The replies were disbelief, questions, demands for clarity. We ignored them. By mid-morning, vehicles appeared at the far end of town. Police cruisers first, then armored trucks, then unmarked vans. They stopped at the edge. No one crossed in immediately, even from a distance. They felt it, the residue, the wrongness. I watched through binoculars as officials argued, pointed, paced. They did not want to step into a place where rules had broken. We sent envoys instead. 3 people who had slept safely and woken without whispers walked out slowly, hands visible, eyes wide. They came back hours later with food, water, medical supplies. No soldiers crossed the line. Not yet. At the camp, doctors worked non-stop. IV lines snaked across concrete. People slept in short bursts, guarded carefully. I avoided cameras. News vans hovered just outside range. Reporters spoke in hushed tones, as if loud voices might trigger something. They asked for interviews. We said no. Stories like this did not belong to headlines yet. Late in the afternoon, something unexpected happened. A man collapsed while awake. Not sleeping, just gone. His heart had stopped. Exhaustion had claimed its first true casualty. Silence spread fast. This was the cost the monsters had promised. I gathered people together as gently as I could. "They will tell you this proves they were right," I said. "That rest must be forced to save us." I let that sink in. Do not believe it. He died because we were pushed beyond human limits. That is not the same as choosing a cage. Murmurs rippled. Fear shifted shape again. That night, the scar shimmered faintly for the first time since dawn. I stood beneath it alone, phone dark in my hand. "You were never from here," I said quietly. The scar responded, not with words, but with memory. Images flooded my mind. Cities, centuries, the same pattern repeating. It had not come to this town. It had been born here. From generations teaching themselves to sleep through injustice, pain, cruelty. The monsters were not invaders. They were consequences. I staggered back, shaking. If that was true, starving them was not enough. They would return wherever humanity chose unconsciousness over choice. Cole found me sitting on the ground. "What did you see?" he asked. I looked up at the darkening sky. "The truth," I said, "and it is worse than monsters." He waited. "We built them," I said, "every time we chose not to look." The scar faded completely as night settled in. Stars came out, real ones. The outside world camped at the edge of town, afraid to enter, afraid to leave us alone. Tomorrow, they would try to take control. They always did. I lay down among the others, eyes open, listening to breathing, to engines idling in the distance. The fight was not over. It was changing shape, and soon the hardest question would arrive. How do you teach the world to stay awake? The authorities attempted order immediately. Checkpoints were proposed, curfews drafted, a temporary command structure sketched out on clipboards and tablets. They spoke in familiar language, the kind that assumed compliance would follow clarity. We listened politely, then we refused. Not loudly, not violently, simply and together. "You cannot force sleep here," I told the man in the reflective vest who had been elected spokesman by default. "Not without killing people." He frowned. "We are trying to help." I believed him. That made it worse. Help without understanding had created cages before. Doctors from outside tried to sedate patients suffering from hallucinations. We stopped them, explained what sedation looked like to the fragments still lurking at the edges of perception. They adjusted protocols reluctantly. Every compromise felt like walking a tightrope over a pit we could not see. The news cycle exploded. Mass hysteria, cult behavior, sleep deprivation, psychosis. Experts debated on camera whether exhaustion could explain collective delusion. None of them came inside. At night, whispers returned for some, not commands, memories. People dreamed while awake, eyes open, recounting half-remembered lives. The fragments were too weak to take, but strong enough to remember. They wanted relevance. I gathered those who could still focus. "This does not end with a town," I said. "They will appear wherever people choose not to see." Someone asked the question we had all been avoiding. "What do we do when we leave?" I did not answer immediately, because the answer terrified me. "We tell the truth," I said finally, "and we teach people how to resist it." Cole exhaled slowly. "They will not listen." "No," I agreed. "Not at first." The first convoy crossed into town near dawn. Soldiers moved carefully, eyes darting, fingers off triggers but tense. They felt it immediately. The faint residue, the absence of pressure where pressure should have been. They slept in shifts that night. Just like us, the scar did not return, but something else did. Memory. As dawn broke again, I realized that what we had lost could not be recovered. We would never again be able to close our eyes without remembering this place, and that memory would change us. The monsters were born from forgetting. Maybe they would die from remembrance. I watched the sun rise over a town that would never be ordinary again. This was not an ending. It was a transmission, and the world was about to receive it. Before noon, the first official quarantine order was issued. It arrived as a notification on every working phone. A neat block of text attempting to define something that refused definition. Restricted movement, mandatory evaluations, temporary housing. The word mandatory rippled uneasily through the camp. We had learned what forced rest became. I watched as people read the message, then looked at one another for permission. None was given. Instead, conversations started. Not arguments, explanations. Survivors teaching responders how to stay awake safely, how to listen for whispers without obeying them. It spread faster than fear. By evening, soldiers were asking questions instead of giving orders. That was when I understood. The monsters were not defeated by starvation alone. They were undone by education. Once awareness became transferable, they lost leverage. As night fell again, I sat with Cole and listened to the town breathe. It was uneven, scarred, alive, somewhere far away. Other places were falling asleep without knowing what waited for them. Soon they would, because this story would not stay contained, and neither would the lesson it carried. They asked me to testify, not in a courtroom, not at first, but in rooms with no windows and too many lights. Men and women who had not slept well in years leaned forward and asked careful questions. They recorded everything. They paused often, not because they doubted me, but because they were afraid of what believing would require. I told them the truth, not the version meant to calm markets or reassure voters, not the version that turned horror into metaphor. I told them about sleep as consent, about how silence fed something older than any town, about how the monsters did not arrive, but emerged when enough people chose not to look. Some of them stopped taking notes. Others wrote faster. When I finished, a woman across the table asked the question that had been waiting patiently since Christmas morning. Can this happen again? I answered without hesitation. It already is. The room went quiet. I explained what we had learned, that the entities did not need one place, that they appeared wherever exhaustion met denial. Hospitals, factories, offices lit all night, homes where grief was buried instead of spoken. Anywhere people slept to avoid waking life, they asked for solutions. There were none that fit on slides. Awareness cannot be mandated. I said, if you force it, you recreate the cage. Then what do we do? A man asked. I met his eyes. You teach people how to rest without surrendering. That answer frustrated them. They wanted protocols, pills, devices. I gave them responsibility. Outside those rooms, the town was being dismantled piece by piece. Quarantine tape came down. Soldiers left. News vans packed up and chased fresher disasters. Life returned in approximations. Some people left immediately, desperate to forget. Others stayed, afraid of sleep elsewhere. I stayed until the end, until the last scar faded completely from the sky. On my final night there, Cole sat with me on the courthouse steps. You could leave with them, he said. Write a book, give interviews. I shook my head. Stories like this rot when they become entertainment. He smiled sadly. Then what will you do? I looked out at the empty square. I will listen. I left town at dawn, not with a convoy, not with cameras. I walked. Every mile away made the air feel lighter, but the memory heavier. I felt the pull of sleep return to something almost normal, and that frightened me more than the whispers ever had. Normal forgets. I stopped in a small roadside motel 2 days later. I slept, not long, not deeply. I dreamed of a room full of people staring at their phones, while something dark gathered behind them. I woke before it touched anyone. That became the pattern. I began traveling. Factories, shelters, schools, night shifts. I did not preach. I listened. People told me how tired they were, how numb, how often they slept just to avoid feeling. I taught them small things, how to rest together, how to keep lights uneven, how to notice when silence felt too heavy. Some laughed, some listened, some thanked me months later. The world did not change quickly. It never does, but it shifted quietly. I received messages from places I had never been, stories that matched ours too closely to dismiss, communities where sleep had started to feel wrong until someone spoke up. The monsters learned too. They adapted. They always would. But now they had to work harder. They had to hide inside habits instead of shadows. Years passed. Christmas came again. I spent it in a crowded shelter during a snowstorm, sitting between strangers sharing food and stories. When people slept, they did so with others nearby. Lights on low, voices murmuring. I stayed awake, not out of fear, out of choice. At midnight, as snow fell softly outside, I felt something brush the edge of my thoughts. Not a command, a question. Are you watching? Yes, I answered silently. The presence withdrew. Morning came, real morning. I watched people wake, stretch, laugh, complain. Human things. The monsters were still out there. They always would be, because they were part of us. But so was the answer. As long as someone stayed awake enough to notice when sleep became escape, the dark would never fully win. That is what Christmas taught me. Not that monsters exist, but that consciousness is a responsibility. And once you accept it, you never truly go back to sleep. The first time the nightmares returned, I almost ignored them. That was the danger. They did not come with shadows crawling across walls or voices whispering names. They came disguised as ordinary fatigue, a missed meal, a skipped conversation, a night where closing your eyes felt easier than explaining yourself to anyone. That was how it always began. I learned to recognize the pattern early. In a warehouse in Ohio, where workers rotated 12-hour shifts under buzzing lights. In a hospital wing where nurses slept in chairs between alarms. In an office tower where no one spoke about the layoffs, only worked later. I watched the air thicken. I watched silence gather weight. When I spoke, it was never about monsters. It was about permission. You do not have to disappear to survive. I told them sometimes that was enough, sometimes it was not. There were places where the fragments had already begun to form, thin and patient. In those places, I stayed longer. I taught people to rest in groups, to keep radios on low static, to break routines before they hardened into habits. I slept lightly, always lightly. The world tried to turn what happened into policy. Eventually, committees formed, guidelines issued, campaigns launched about healthy rest and awareness. Most of it missed the point. You cannot legislate attention. It must be practiced. Years later, when my hair had begun to gray and the story of the town had become something people half remembered, I received a message from a place I had never been. It said simply, "We stayed awake. It worked." I did did not reply. I did not need to. I stood by a window and watched a city breathe at night. Cars moving, lights flickering, lives unfolding in small, fragile moments of choice. I understood then that there would never be a final victory. Only vigilance passed quietly from one person to another. That was how humanity would survive this, not by conquering the dark, but by refusing to look away from it. And if that meant losing the innocence of effortless sleep, then so be it. Because some dreams are not worth having, and some awakenings are. On the anniversary of that first morning, I returned to the edge of the old town. Nature had reclaimed most of it. Grass through cracks, birds nesting where shadows once hung. If you did not know where to look, you would miss the scar entirely. That was intentional. Memory needed markers. I stood there until night fell, listening to my own breathing, testing whether it felt earned. It did. When I finally slept, it was not an escape. It was a choice, and somewhere, far away, I knew someone else was making the same one. The story ends here. Thank you for watching and listening to the whole story. Please subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell to listen to the next stories.